All right, fellas. This is the beginning of the TheSeedz963. We're on our third episode today. And today's episode is going to be an exciting, good one today. Today, we're starting with the fall and the rise of African spirituality. The fall and the rise of African spirituality. Now, here we go. We're going to get this one started. The first of all, we're going to start off. We want to know, you know what I mean? When does anybody have a clue when and how African spirituality first fell, right? And the relevance of how it fell, you know what I mean? So like we can go back to like the beginning of when we got to go farther back than slavery, really. You know, we got to go way back in the time. You know what I mean? We got to go way back. So we need to figure out here as melanated men, where did we lose our first battle? And I myself, I have to start way back to what? Massa Musa. When we start, I mean, is that far enough, or do I need to go back farther than Massa Musa? When Massa Musa, you know, he started everything around here. He had all the gold and passed out the gold and things like that to different countries, and that's what let the world know about how much wealth was in Africa. And then in Africa, you know what I mean, we had ancient shamans. We had, like, you go back to say before Massa Musa, you go back to ancient Kenai, and you had all the different pharaohs and things like that. And the pharaohs, as we know, that's why I had talked on the phone with a couple other different guests here before, that we had talked about how it comes from. They used to practice different things as having a medium, a psychic, you know what I mean, a soothsayer, a shaman, things like that. They were in spirituality where they knew forthcoming events. That's why they had in Asia, they had the 50 pillars, showing of the demise of black people and how we were going to fall, and the rise of us, and what we would go through going through slavery, and how we would lose who we were. And from my perspective, I would say that we lost really who we really were during the time of that when that first arose. So how we lost it, because we stopped practicing the things that had us on top, because we were, you go back into those times, the dark, you know, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, you know, the old little statement. They said that the dark people were on top, and the lighter skinned people on the bottom, because they said the darker skinned people, because they were melanated and fully melanated, had a higher consciousness, and was connected with the creator of all, closer to the creator of God. So then in those ancient times, that's why they had the melanated people on top. But they said everything will be turned, like some of the prophecies said, everything will be turned upside down. So if we can believe some of the prophecy and things like that, the prophecies and things like that were, we got to say, spiritual, right? The prophecy didn't come from no Bible, didn't come from no religion and things like that. The prophecy was spiritual, coming from the shamans, the mediums, the psychics, and things like that in those times. So if we actually use these things back in those times, right? Why are we now, since they gave us so-called religions right now, running from those things? You know what I mean? Like, what would cause us not to go back in it? But then we can look around our society right now, and we know for a fact that the powers that be are using these things everywhere that we see. You know what I mean? We can see that they're using sigils. We can see that they're using, you know, you got people that so-called witchcraft. You got voodoo, and my belief is all that was originally one. All that was originally one, and divided into each different continent, and people took what sects that they wanted to take and start their own thing. You know what I mean? So I want to start right there, fellas, about who wants to chime in about how we got to where we are right now, and the fall and rise of spirituality. Should we go back to it because of how we fell from it, or should we lean away from it because some will say that's how we got in the position that we are right now? And the people who are practicing those things that we used to practice right now are called Satanists, and they're called demonology. There are all these other things right now. There's putting all types of bad labels on it. You know what I mean? You put bad labels on it. So I believe if we want to so-called save ourselves, really, How do we save ourselves without going back to African spirituality? Anybody want to start? Any questions?
If nobody got it, I'll start.
Go ahead.
So that's an interesting point you made as far as it sounded like it started economically with Man's Musa, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's an interesting point because it let everybody know what Africa had to offer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good point. I don't know too much about that to expound on it. From my perception, I think when the fall really took place when the colonizers came over and they put their perception of what Christianity was. That's when I think the fall was. I think it began back in that era that you're talking about, but I think that they really ratcheted up, I guess, when they came over and started really colonizing and bringing in colonialism and their perception of what Christianity was. You know, as far as him being a white Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I just believe, it's just my opinion, don't mean that I'm right or wrong. I think that if you can mess with a man's God, you can mess with him.
Correct.
If you can mess with his belief system, you can mess with that soul. So I believe it started with that. I mean, I believe it started in the era that you're talking about, but it was really ratcheted up, and we're still feeling the effects of it to this day when they started introducing colonialism and colonizing. And you know, not every country practiced African spirituality the same. Some was ancestral worship, and I'm not even sure I would call it worship. It was just honoring the past. They all believed in priests or shamans, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. The stones that we talk about, different properties. They even had a concept of the cosmos. So, I believe the perception of those things being evil is that came from the colonization and the colonialism, and a lot of that just pertains to trying to control people. So I think it began there when you said Man's Musa. They found out, man, we need to go check that out over there. But then someone came up with the bright idea as they started, we need to try to control this. And that's when they started doing all the, you know, rationing it up with the colonization and colonialism. And that's my take on it.
So like, as to keep going where you're going, because I would say, like, a lot of our history, a lot of our knowledge was based in the Library of Alexandria. Mm-hmm. And in the Library of Alexandria, if you do a little research on it, it really had, like, every family. It had the families that come in, and they would go through and have what the parents went through and how they came into spirituality and what they did, what the uncle did and how he came into spirituality, and each one, you know, what I mean, they would base it off, you know, the moons and the stars and the signs that they had, and they would say say like the ancient schools said, like, if you were Scorpios was in a class together. You had Pisces in a class together, and those you had to learn to work within each sex. So Scorpios would have to learn to work with Scorpios. Taurus would have to learn to work with Taurus before they actually intermingle with everyone. So that's why spirituality was actually taught first before. Well, not spiritual. I would say astrology was actually taught first before anything else. You had to know position of the stars and things like that, because that is what affects you more than anything else is the stars. That's why we got the Dogon and things like that, where they have seen certain star systems and things like that even before telescopes. Now how did a group of people, you know what I mean, see the stars and know position of different clusters of stars and things like that without having a telescope? They had to have some type of connection, spiritually wise, to know these things. You know what I mean? They had to be using what I feel like with how they talk about now with the third eye, how they talk about now with telekinesis. They had to be using some of these things for the greater good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So right now, I don't see any other way besides using those things that our ancestors used to come out of what we're in right now, because that's the main thing that what 90% of religions tell you to stay away from is that.
True.
Because mostly all people that's not religious, you know what I mean, they use it.
Right.
Say our standing president right now, he has Herkimer diamonds all around every one of these buildings. And if anybody knows the properties of Herkimer diamonds about bringing your dreams come true, this is why Donald Trump has Herkimer diamonds around all his buildings. You know what I mean? So he actually believes in esoteric things, like that's what Hitler was trying to get to Antarctica for, because he was truly into esoteric things. So for us to deny those things and think that we gonna find a different way out, I would love to hear from the panel here a different way than going back into the African spirituality. Anybody want to go next? Anybody got next? See, because I have the I would say I have the perspective of the spiritual nature, because I've been doing it for the last 15, 20 years. I've done a lot of research on a lot of these things like that, and when I go to a lot of these different seminars and stuff for psychics and mediums and things like that, it's been phenomenal. I would say phenomenal. Learning more about myself, learning more about the spirits that you carry around with you that when you're walking every day, learning around people that's unprotected, how you could easily be taken advantage of if you don't know what you're doing. Like so, it goes back to say the mystery schools. People, a lot of things right now we have. If you look in your phone, you can look in your phone and see there's actually 7 mystery schools right now that even still exist right now in Tibet and things like that. And we can't just go demonize every last one of those and say that what they're doing is bad when they don't have sickness and disease. They're not at war. They're not doing none of these things that we're doing right here. Sure. as we are in America here with so many religions that nobody's practicing it but the so-called bad people, really. You know what I mean?
I think. Sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt.
Oh no, you good. You good.
But I think it goes into, what spirituality and what religion really is, and and it's just my opinion, but I think spirituality really deals with the relationship with the Creator, or what you believe is the Creator. And I think religion is more created by man to control you, control what you think, and minimize your power. That's what I believe religion is. And I was just gonna touch on that too about the mystery schools. A lot of the things that you were touching on, there were many libraries, not just Alexandria.
Correct.
They have burned. I know that we're supposed to be in the information age, but there's a lot of information that we have a gap. A huge gap. And it's purposely done that way. They've thrown off our circadian rhythms. Everything is to get us out of connection with the Creator. How things work. Even time. They changed that. Roman
record time is what we're in right now.
We used to be in 13 months. You know what I'm saying? Now we're in 12 months, but 52 weeks. But if 4 weeks are in 12 months, that's 48, right? So where did the other four weeks go? So a lot of what you're saying is to control us, and I think we don't look at that as a big deal. I think we don't look at those kind of things as a big deal, but all of that adds up. I think when they prey on our mental, they prey on our physical, they prey on our spiritual. And they prey on our intellect. All that stuff is heavily against your will. You know what I'm saying? And it makes it hard to fight. They take your will to fight away. And we don't look at those things as big. Who cares if it's 12 months? If you mention that to the average person, they don't care about that. New Year is in January rather than in the springtime when everything is supposed to be a brand new. Did you know that the president of the United States used to get sworn in March and not in January?
Right.
Well, because they wanted to start their agendas earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they changed it to January. Everything centers around commerce too, and economics and money. Just follow the money. One time, they were talking about the story of Jesus during that time when he was getting ready to be crucified, and if you read that story, up until that point, he had turned over some tables. He had walked into a church and he had said, "You turned my father's house into a den of thieves." You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Well, when we used to kind of read over that story, but if you read the whole story, after he did that, those people went to the head people and told him, "You need to get rid of this dude because he's messing up our money." Get what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff a lot of this stuff is boiling down to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you mentioned that, that's why I'm like, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Once people found out what was there, let's go over there and see what we could do. And then they start figuring out a way to control it. That's all it is about in this world. Once somebody finds resources, the next thing is how do we control it?
Right.
And if it's spiritual, if it's something that they can't control, they want to destroy it. If you become a person of influence and they can't control you, they want you out.
Right. So since you said about you want to destroy it, that's why I bring up astrology. Mm-hmm. That's why I bring up numerology. Mm-hmm. That's why I bring up palmistry. All those things, did they not demonize and try to destroy?
Yeah.
So when we're all sitting here looking for our purpose in life, have we ever thought for one time to investigate palmistry? On palmistry, it tells you exactly what you came here for, and exactly what you're doing in your life right now. If you actually went to a great palm reader, or you can study like I did and read your own palms yourself, it tells the story of your life on your hand. It tells you what ancestors, by the spacing on your hand, it tells you exactly what ancestors, when they died, who was here to help you, things like that. It has your kids on your hand, you know what I mean? Wow. It has your lifeline, it has all these things written on your hand, you know what I mean? And this is what a lot of the Chinese, who is what? One of the top in the country right out of Chinese, right? Because whenever you go to war, another country, takes what you have and holds on to it for you throughout history. And I believe China has a lot of our history that we have as black men. You know what I mean? Well, as melanated men, because the first three dynasties of China was melanated people. You know what I mean? So why do we think that we all so interested in Kung Fu? You know what I mean? That every last one of us growing up would have loved to be a black belt, would have loved to learn these things. Where do we think we got these ideas? And it was in your insight. You weren't forced to like these things, right? Like you were in school forced to like things. You actually like these things in your nature. You know what I mean? You were attracted to it once you seen it. You know what I mean? And that's why I say we have to keep going with those type of things to progress, to see exactly what we are and what we came from. You know what I mean? Right. So like. Numerology. Do you even know how well they use? Wait, hold up 1 second. Do you even know how much they use numerology in American society? You know what I mean? Especially how they come up with 28 days. You know what I mean? How they come up with time. The numbers mean everything. You know what I mean? And you can get like 444 and 333. These are all like different numerology signs that we can't overlook, that was part of our past, and it should be part of our future to come back to where we are. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Anything you want to interject, Mr. Butler?
Yeah, so in my opinion, there's a lot of African spirituality in many of the religions that exist here today.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the religions took a lot of different parts of what they practice from original African spirituality. So like, for example, even prayer, the act of calming your mind and just sitting in a place and relaxing your mind, that's from African spirituality. It's a way to bring your brain waves down to a lower state in order to increase your awareness of the stuff around you that honestly our eye doesn't see a lot of what goes on around us.
True.
So it puts you in that almost like trance-like state to where you can hear some things that you would never normally hear. You feel things you would never normally feel. And that's where a lot of that comes from, is from the African spirituality. Because that's what that was originally taken from, like he said, the times of Mansa Musa and whatnot, was the prayer, and that's taken from meditation.
And see that the prayer thing, that's what we prayer is part of sending out a message, right? And meditation is about receiving it. You know what I mean? Those are the two things that we had in African spirituality too. So when we did pray, you know what I mean, we would meditate to get the answers from the prayers. You know what I mean? That's how we speak to the other side. So I personally, I don't see like what is wrong with praying with someone that you actually met in this lifetime and who you loved in this lifetime, and we don't think that when they go on to the other side they want to help us. So why would religion tell us to let the dead be dead? You know what I mean? Why would they say these things? Sure. You know what I mean? Like these things right here, like in China, like when the master dies or when the aunt dies, they put up a whole picture and portrait, and they're asking them, so they going through hard times. They sit down and pray to these people, and their answers and things their prayers get answered through the ancestral spirituality. Why do we think they're the most successful on the planet right now? Look at where China is at compared to everybody else on the planet. You know what I mean? So we actually have to, as a group, have to start looking around to see where success be gotten at. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure. You
know what I mean? Like here in America, how much success are we having with the religions, for example? You know what I mean? What success we having? You go to the prison system, you go look up 60 to 70% of the prisoners are what? Christians. You know what I mean? So like, are we saying all these people, it works for a few but not the many? You know what I mean? Like, so when you say, well, that's only a couple few people, that's not a couple few people. If you look up and see how many incarcerated people there are that's melanated, it's mostly us with the cross on our heart and things like that. So and the Catholic Church put a lot of their hands in that too. Why did they get rid of the ump? Why did they separate and take off the one?
I have a theory about that though.
Yep, go ahead.
Because I think that there's a difference in Christianity and a Christ follower.
Okay.
And Christianity, a lot of people is loose. Christ was a disciplined man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He practiced those things that you're talking about as far as meditation, prayer. He walked everywhere, so he had to be in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So we forget about the physical too. But I just think that there's a difference between that. I think a lot of Christianity is based off of the teachings of Paul and not the life of Christ. And that's the difference. That's just my opinion. What do you think about that?
I mean, because if we actually look at what the things that Jesus said that he did, right?
Uh-huh.
Did he not say that everyone can do what he did? I mean, so if we don't believe in telekinesis and we don't believe in things, how did Moses part the sea?
True.
How did Jesus turn water to wine?
True.
You know what I mean? How did he walk on water?
True.
How did he heal the sick with his hands?
True.
And he did not. He said he didn't say he's the only way can do it. He said everyone can do this. True. You know what I mean? So why would we demonize what he used?
I think it's interesting. It's interesting that that you brought that up, but like I think it goes back to who do we think that we are, though? You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is, see, when I say there's a difference between Christ follower and a Christian, is Paul was to preach to the, if you go back and look, he used to preach to the Gentiles. He was a preacher to the Gentile. That's what he said he felt like he was sent to preach to. I don't think that we're Gentiles. his message, I don't believe, is to us. Christ said when he was walking the earth, he was sent for the lost sheep of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just my opinion, but I think we have to get back to that. We as a chosen people have to get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I believe. Now, I believe that God, the Father, loved the world, that he wants to include everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's not going to be able to do what we do. So you can't take everybody to the mountaintop. We say that. But it ain't for us to do it. It's for him to do it. Get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think for us, we have to come together on that. On what that's really supposed to be. Dietary, all of that stuff. I really do believe that.
Right. Like you said, dietary. Like, is there really? So we got the idea then that we could eat anything that we wanted to eat.
I don't believe that we can.
Just by praying over.
And the things that it says that God is against are the things that we like. I will keep it honest with you. Seafood, all that stuff is a lot of it is unclean. I mean, it's considered unclean.
They're bottom feeders. Shrimp is bottom feeders. Shrimp is the exact same thing as roaches.
I still like pork chop. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to say is, because Christ said he came to fulfill the law, not to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people feel like we're not under the law. I don't believe the Gentiles are under that. Get what I'm saying? But we have a responsibility. Just like I have 4 kids, right? They're all different ages. I have different expectations for my oldest one than I do with my youngest one. I don't expect him to do what my oldest one can do, or even think the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we say we God's chosen people, a lot of this stuff I see on Facebook, we can't be doing that stuff no more. You can't say that you God's chosen people and then you shaking your butt. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to kill you over nothing. Supposed to be brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? That's not how God's chosen people are supposed to act. I think we got to get back to that though. And I think the only way to unite in that, we always talk about coming together. The more I study, the more I meditate and pray, the only way that we can come back together truly is through Christ in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Not the white Jesus that y'all see. I'm talking about Yeshua. That's what I'm talking about. Now, that's just my opinion. That's the only way we're gonna come back together. We got to start to see it the same way.
Yes, because I don't think that we should be sitting here, so-called waiting for another Messiah, so-called waiting for another somebody to come through when we are all it. You know what I mean? We are it.
Well,
we need to work together. We need to do what we need to do together. So when I'm talking about for us to come together, I mean putting our energies together. So once we discover that someone can do telepathy, once we discover that someone has the ability to be psychic, come together and use these energies. I mean that's part of my belief about how the pyramids were really made. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know what I mean? Because we can't deny that there are people with telepathy on this planet, right? We can't deny that there are people that are psychics and mediums, right? All these things that exist, but when I go to these different seminars, it's loaded with Europeans, loaded with Chinese, loaded with Arabic. And I see 1 to 2 of us because we are so, the fear has been put in us over 300 years.
Stop demonizing everything.
Correct.
I that's one thing about religion though, is it causes you to prejudge, and demonize everything. You get what I'm saying? And here's the thing, even about like with the 10 Commandments, God said, don't have any other gods before me. Well, that doesn't mean you ain't gonna have other gods. Your family is almost a god because you spend most of your time taking care of anything that you spend most of your attention on is a god. Mm-hmm. By definition. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't mean that they should come before the Creator.
Absolutely
right?
not.
That's not what I'm saying. But it doesn't mean that these other things are demonized either. If God created it, it had to be good at some point.
Correct.
It's how you use your energy. It's how you do that. Even the swastika, I think we was talking about that. At some point, the swastika actually meant peace. It's all over in the East.
The ultimate symbol of peace.
But now, because the energy and the view is so
Hitler.
You get what I'm saying? They changed it so to something so evil. You can't have that up now.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And that just tells you how powerful that is. That they could change a symbol that was the ultimate symbol of peace, like you said, into something that is now the most evilest thing.
Yeah. Anti-Semitic.
Wow. When you even think about that, it's like, wow. I can't even fathom a world where that even meant that, because the world I grew up in, it's always meant that evil.
Right. And that's why I talk about us learning and doing the study and things like that, because we have to all admit we really don't know nothing. You know what I mean?
No.
We only know what we were told. We only know what was put in front of us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And they knew how sacred we put family on a pedestal, and there's a reason that we put family on a pedestal. That's why we stood up for ancestor worship and things like that. So they knew if they can mislead the so-called mothers and things like that, the rest of the family will fall behind. Sure. You know what I mean? Get rid of the man out the house. Get rid of the true man out the house, and let the woman lead.
Right.
And once you have that, you have a great group of lost people.
True.
That will do nothing but fight amongst each other over the truths that they put in front of your face.
True. One thing and I'll get up off of it. But to drive home my point about Christ follower and Christianity, you have more people who are non-Christians that act more like Christians than Christians. You see it all the time. I see Ellen. Ellen is always giving away something. Mm-hmm. She don't profess any faith in God in that way. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I don't know whether she believes in God or not, but she hasn't professed any Christian belief, right? But she do a lot of stuff that Christians you would think would do. All I hear nowadays is scandals from the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all I hear. Just saying. Along with that, the cross. I'm not sure that was the cross that we use now. I'm not sure that was the original cross that they used. I think they used the Ankh in the beginning, which is more, I would say, spiritually correct, because you have the male and the female.
The unity of a male and a female.
So I would say that was more correct.
And then the cross is a symbol of nothing but the penis, the man, the phallus. You know what I mean?
Phallus and phallus, yeah. Right, yeah. I wasn't gonna go there, well. I wasn't gonna go.
I mean,
there.
we go everywhere on the seas. We go everywhere on the seas.
But
we
right.
No stone unturned.
So then, if you have to wonder if spiritually, if that causes a little bit of perversion, but you allowing your conscience. See, like when we say a diet or nutrition, it's not just physical nutrition. It's what you digest in your consciousness too. I was reminded of that a couple of weeks ago. Like, man, what you watch, what you hear,
the monkeys,
what you
hear no evil, see no evil. You know what I mean?
What you all of that is part of a diet. What you put into yourself, man, and you just gotta you gotta watch it. You gotta watch what you eat. Watch what you put in your mind. Watch what you watch. That's why porn ain't a good thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Porn's not good because it messes. It paralyzes you. And physically it causes dopamine. When it is time to do that, you ain't gonna be able to do that because you don't have too much dopamine. Physically, like when you start really looking at all these things coming together, mind, body, soul. I think you had kind of touched on that, AJ. All that is one. That's one body. You know what I mean? And spiritually, we just gotta. That's all part of it.
Right. Because a lot of that was, especially the porn industry and things like that, being the number one industry in America, they know about that. They had to mislead us with that because sexual energy is one of the most powerful energies on the planet.
True.
You know what I mean? That's why there are so many sexual tantra books out there about how to have sex the correct way and how to even manifest your dreams to come through sexuality. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of these cultures were using sex the correct way to manifest what they needed to manifest between a true union between a man and a woman.
True.
That's why being promiscuous should never have happened. You know what I mean? Building a relationship with one woman and together with one woman, you couldn't imagine what you could create through that. You know what I mean?
True. True.
Leslie, you still there on the phone with us?
Oh, I'm here, bro.
So what's your interjection on what we got going here?
I think that it's a cross between what's actually being demonized and what's not. I haven't heard anybody ever demonize psychic ability.
True.
That's just something that you're born with. There's people that you consider HSPs that are highly sensitive people, and that leaves them able to do things that can't be explained, that they call the paranormal. So there's no way to demonize that. Like, that would be more like a prejudice than from a religious aspect. People that can move things with their mind, people that are cognizant, people that are hyper, like this, that get premonitions or have visions when they sleep. There's no demonization of that. That's something that's trying to be studied and understood, probably so that they can control it. But still, there are no books. There's no college, or like there's no real live group of people that's out there trying to demonize psychic ability, probably more so than the government trying to play it down as though it doesn't exist, while at the same time studying it and using it. So I don't see people necessarily demonizing psychic ability or paranormal ability or unexplained phenomena. You know, it's a lot of that going on. There's a lot about this world that's going on while we here, that's synchronized with us, that we still just don't understand. Due to the fact that there's a lot of opposition to us trying to understand it. You know, you call it a conspiracy theorist, or you call it a foil cap wearer or whatever. So it's like it's a stigma to looking into things of that nature, and that's just what you do, and you take the stigma that comes along with it. It's the same thing with somebody who studies the Bible, which is strange enough, because I see no other book attacked like the Bible's attacked. I see no other book that draws so much disdain from people who have not studied it and don't know anything but talking points against it, that is attacked like the Bible. And I'm of the nature that if you can't argue two sides of a point, then you don't have a side. So if you haven't sat down and read the Bible, especially as a skeptic, and been through study of the Bible, then far be it from anyone to condemn the Bible when they don't know anything about it. That's idealism. That's saying my side is better without knowing anything about the other side or whatever. But that's not how to have a true argument or a true debate. So when it comes down to certain modalities, such as being a medium or a channeler, or what do you call this? Using Ouija boards, crystals, and things of that nature. There's a certain danger that comes with allowing the spirit to possess the body, because the word possession in and of itself denotes control, and a lack of control by the person that allows their body to be entered into. So there's a certain degree of danger that goes along with that. And people that are on a hunt for a particular thing, if they they'll take on certain challenges or certain dangers just to try to achieve um, a goal. So I guess the means justifies the ends or whatever. So whatever. I personally, just like you were talking about with martial arts, I got into martial arts real heavy when I was a kid, and probably really up until now, I still do some work, just to keep myself in shape. But at the same time, there's some parts of martial arts that get real deep with the meditation, with the even potions, even opening yourself up to be possessed by a 1,000-year-old, 3,000-year-old warrior. Um, there are certain hand gestures that they call mudras that you use in certain martial arts, especially in ninjutsu. So just from my being into martial arts and knowing what I know about martial arts, the spiritual aspect of it, not just the physical, because that doesn't make a complete warrior. A complete warrior has to be physically strong and spiritually strong. And that
Bruce Lee
helps
with the
both.
1-inch punch.
Well, this is the 1-inch punch is about kinetics. It's using your life force
Uh huh.
to affect the next person's life force. You call it ki or chi.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
so these things that these things have never been demonized by anybody with some smarts about themselves. So but at the same time, there's a side to martial arts that you know you got to be kind of balls to the walls to walk into, because you start opening yourself up to certain things, and it's how deep on that side that you want to go to try to justify the goals that you want to achieve. So there's for every good side of something, there's an evil side.
Right.
That's just nature and balance. So when you have a situation or when you have a particular thing, it's not the thing that's evil. It's the intent behind the use of the thing.
Correct. Correct.
So when you go into something, you have to understand whatever the pros and cons of that thing is. If I get into a car, I need to know, how to drive. I need to know that there's other people out there that don't know how to drive. There's certain things that I can't go in. I can go in naive, but I won't be a good driver. So I need to educate myself. So and then do what I found to be proper. So as a man, you're responsible for your actions. And so when you dig into something and it affects more than self, then that thing needs to be set down and thought through more than just a light consideration. So that is what keeps me in check as far as being a person of multiple talents. I can pretty much do whatever the hell I want, but with that comes a whole lot of consequence, because you can make a choice out of freedom. You got the freedom to make a choice, but you're not free from suffering the consequences thereof, if there are any. So being wise and having your feelers out for things, especially things that come sound too good to be true, you gotta be smart as a workman to not get your hands into something that you don't quite understand. And this is the easy thing to do once you start dealing with things that you don't understand. So knowledge is key. That's why I know so much about stuff that I guess with my stance I shouldn't particularly know. But at the same time, how could I have a very flexible argument if I don't know the other side? So that's why I've studied as much as I've studied. And I'm sure people have seen me studying some stuff and thought that, this boy he gonna bust hell wide open. But at the same time, these are the things that I need to have in order to make myself a well-rounded individual as far as spiritualism or religion or whatever you have is concerned, because that's my approach to whatever subject I want to learn more about, to learn both sides, if there are indeed two sides. And most of the time there are more. Sometimes it's more than two sides. So when it comes down to spiritualism, there's a side to it that could be considered good. There's a side to it that could be considered evil, for lack of a better word. But that's a heavy subject. It's a deep pool to dive in. But you gotta, when you are going into that type of avenue, a person needs to protect themselves. And I would say, to the path of least resistance will probably be the smartest way to go. So.
And then I guess my thing is about part of what you're saying was really with the Bible, from my perspective, the things that we talk about with the shop, especially with because I have a lot of younger clientele too. The reason that they don't want to dive into the book of the Bible itself is because they've come into the consciousness and awareness now that a lot of us did know when we were younger that there were so many different versions of it. So many times man has put their hands on the Bible and changed it up. So right now, why dive into something and be indoctrinated that you could consider not really all truths? Pretty much, you know what I mean? Because
if we're gonna talk about a spirit that is beyond time and space, a spirit that is everywhere at the same time, if we're talking about an almighty God, then what makes anybody think that man could defeat the message that he put in that book, no matter what they do to it?
Because well, for one, the God of the Bible, he already said, and he or she already said that praise no other one, no God but them, right? So it pretty much proves there are more different gods. So that's why I believe God is just a title in the first place, for one. And then there's only one really creator that created all, that has nothing to do with our business. Like the creator at all is not getting involved when ants are fighting, when deers are fighting. And we're nothing more and nothing less to them than that. You know what I mean? Because our fight, that's what they put other things for us to praise to, our ancestors to praise to. Different things like other different gods that pray to for your help. You know what I mean? Like Oya to pray to, and there's different entities that they pray to go on to their journey. But from the standpoint of the Bible, it's been had its hands on so many times, and we're just supposed to have. So the average man is supposed to have just faith when we learned that there were 88 books of the Bible. It was in a different language. It's the Gutenberg Bible. And then you can go into the Bible that I have here myself to see how many times excerpts was entered and excerpts was taken out. So man had their hands on it many a times, and of course, man would want you to believe, to say that it can't be changed from the creator thing, but why couldn't it? You know what I mean? Why to learn who you really are comes from self, not from nothing really that you read. Really, from my perspective, you know what I mean. Most of the things on your journey, the most learning you're gonna do is not on the outside; it's on the inside. So by reading that Bible and indoctrinating those different stories in the Bible, you're basically nothing for me, starting off your life misleading yourself down an alley where you're just quoting other scriptures from other so-called men when you don't even know really yourself isn't the truth. Because let's just be honest, you weren't there. You know what I mean? we was not there with John. We was not there with Jesus. We were not there with any of these people. So if you weren't there, and there's no burial spots nowhere on this planet for these people, so when you go look into a lot of these other different religions and things like that, or not even gonna say religions, other different paths of way of life, these people have burial spots. You know what I mean? So certain Buddhists have burial spots. Certain Pharaoh Egyptians has burial spots where you can actually prove that they were here and what their name was, and they actually dug them up. But in the Bible, like, how many people in the Bible actually even do we even know really exist besides it just being a story? You know what I mean? That's what a lot of kids come in into my shop talking about, because they don't want to get what they call indoctrinated. Well, they say most of the time they talk to Bible thumpers, all they're doing is quoting scripture to them left and right, scripture that they have never read themselves and have no desire to ever read, because they see where they got their mother, they see where they got their grandmother, they see where they got everything before, and it didn't help change a thing within their family that they've seen right now. And we have to be honest and truthful with that. You know what I mean? It hasn't changed not one thing, especially for the better at all. But then you go look at other people who's not into that, and other cultures who don't practice that, and they're doing light years better than us. You know what I mean? Why are we standing at the bottom? You know what I mean? Why are we still? Why are we diving into these other books of different things, of palm reading and astrology and things like that to learn more about self? You know what I mean? That's my whole a problem with the whole thing. That's why I talk to the young youth a lot right there.
Well, I'm glad, first of all, that I don't live in a world where my creator don't care about me. That's got to be one of the most disheartening sets of position to take. I mean, if that's true, then we can kick parents out the game too. They created us on a small G type sense. So, like, just because I've made a child and it's small and infinitesimal compared to me, I'm supposed to just let it, not care about it because, it's not a full grown entity. Like that. See, we made in the image of God, so we are His children.
But what you just said is still from the Bible.
That's why He gives us the opportunity to have children ourselves, so we'll know what it feels like to have that type of love for something that you haven't even met yet. It's innate.
Yes.
This is a miracle.
Right.
So there's when God brought us forth, then He's given us an inkling and a peek into His mind about how much He has love for us being the infinitesimal thing that He had to take care of and bring to this. That's why the plan of redemption is so utterly sound, because it's blood to blood. For the wages of sin is death. So we had to release on earth what He ended up having to release in heaven, which was His son. We released our son and Isaac. And Abraham was down to sacrifice him. So that released, as soon as he was down to sacrifice Isaac, and that released Yeshua in the air. And he was, because what's done on earth must be done in heaven. So once we was down to release, then He had to release His first and only begotten son. See, it's a plan of redemption. It don't have nothing to do with no translations and nothing like this. This thing is so simple that you can have 1,000 Bibles and still understand that it's a plan of redemption that was put in place before man was ever created. Because before we were ever created, before the earth was ever created, the Word was there. And that plan of redemption was already there because He already seen what was going to happen from the giddy up. There's some things that you just can't write. Some things just come down the pipe smooth and easy, Pat. So, if you haven't had that thing taught to you correctly, then, I feel sorry for you. But it's still not incumbent upon you to have it taught to you correctly. It's incumbent upon you to study that thing. So if you ain't never studied it, then you'll never have revelation. And revelation is going to keep you from being one with God.
But you say being one with God, but which God? I mean, that's what I'm saying. We keep going back to the
question you throwing in there. That's some confusion that you need to have. I don't need
no,
to have that.
I don't have no confusion, but it's an honest question.
No, sir. I know what God that I'm talking about. So, if it's a problem for somebody else, then that's something that they got to study to work their way out of. But I know which God I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one true God. I'm not talking about the thunder God. I'm not talking about the flower God. I'm not talking about no cloud God. I'm talking about God, the creator God. So, there should be no confusion. And I don't operate in confusion. What I'm saying is straight up and down. That's what makes this thing easy to get. It's not complicated.
So you don't think God put the thunder gods and all these guys here in the place for you to call upon them for help?
Bro, listen. If I'm gonna call on somebody, it's gonna be the one that created them and make them do what He see fit when He see fit. Cause it's not about what I want. It's God's will. If I'm out here trying to please Leslie all the time, then I'm missing the point.
But it's not about pleasing Leslie.
I'm here to do a work. See, that's what I gave my life to Him. So it ain't about what I want. It's about what He wants through me.
See, but and look, so then as you speak to them, right? You still using human qualities by saying it's He. You still using human qualities by saying it's He.
Make no mistake. We've already gone through this. The regenerative process is a male process. The process of giving life is a male process. We've already gone through this. As far as what my point of view is on that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not as though I'm personalizing Him or personifying Him or bringing Him down to human level. It's the regenerative force that comes from man.
or woman, correct?
Nah, ain't no. I didn't say that. I know what I
But
said.
right,
I
right,
know what I
right.
said. I know what I said. I said it comes from man. I know what I said. No, they make no confusion. There's only two genders, and the female's job is to incubate life. Life is in the man. Life is in the fruit of the tree of life. The tree of life comes from man.
And then that right there would be another, what I would say, another falsehood, because that comes from what?
Well, hey,
That comes from the Bible. So, and this right here, this right here,
I'm not.
this is what the kids keep coming into me and talking to me about. They say every time they ever come and talk to anybody about it, they go directly to Bible scriptures. They go directly to what the Bible says.
Well, hey, listen.
And then then if you go over to
if
say,
you're talking to people, if you're talking to people of the book, the people of the book gonna give you the book.
right,
So because that's what they deem to be the highest level and the highest form of truth in their lives. So like if you're gonna have a conversation with a person from the book, then you're gonna hear book. That's just what that is. So
right.
like if you got a problem with that, then you
Don't
know,
ask
or
them
if
the
you
question.
or if you try to take the book away from them as far as something to refer to, then you know there's really no need for discussion.
But so we think the book was used then for African spirituality. That's why this talk is all about. You think the
Well,
book was used for being, it was used back in ancient Kemet? That's what we think too.
All melanated people are not African people.
It's
So
absolutely
we have different beliefs and customs.
correct.
Things that African people did, Hebrew people did not do. That was how you differentiate. They dressed differently. They had different dietary plans. They prayed and meditated differently. They had different customs. This was what was the line of delineation between those two people, because they come from two different families. You talking about the Africans that come from Ham, and we talking about the Hebrews that come from Shem.
Yep.
So
So now you hit exactly what I'm saying on the nose. You hit exactly what I'm saying on the nose. You hit exactly right there. It was all divided when it was really all one. People took what they wanted to take, left ancient Kemet, and started their own thing. That's what I know to believe what happened right there. Because they didn't all agree with it. It all started with the 12 laws. It all started with the 12 laws of karma. It all started with that. If you go back to ancient Kemet and things like that, it all started with that, and it took a divide because people didn't like what was being said. People was breaking the rules, so they went and made their own rules. So how do we get back to knowledge of self? Starting back at the beginning, letting go of some of these books that have a control our mind. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Planting seeds and letting people investigate a new way, a new path, or should I say an old way?
Who's stopping anybody from doing it? Ain't nobody on that's for the book stopping nobody from doing it. Because the way it's laid out right here, it ain't really nothing nobody can walk up to me and say that's gonna make me not be a person of the book.
Yeah.
So I mean, for whomever else there is around or whatever, if they want to go the route of commit or however they want to do it,
right. So we would walk up to somebody from.
I'm not out there stopping you. You know what I'm saying?
We would talk to somebody from Hindu, and they would say the same thing. They don't want it. They wouldn't listen to nobody else had to say from a book because they would tell you about the 12 laws, right? So
man, listen, all good. Like I listen. I don't understand where the condemnation comes from. I don't have a heaven or hell to send you to. Like if you want to go out there and levitate on top of the trees, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? I'll fight for your right to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no... I ain't out here picketing because somebody want to wear or like, you know, I ain't... You know, what the next man does to try to find God the best way he can or whatever he trying to find. If he want to hug, you know, Zeus, bruh, do you. I got you. I got your back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
All I'm saying is, when you get back, you know, we got issues down here that we need to deal with. And if they told you something that we don't know down here, then what we gonna do? Not give you the mic because you just came from hollering at Auntie Swanson that died 80 years ago? Do your thing. So I'm not hating on you, but it's just not for me. I'm not about to go out there and talk to some spirits and don't know who they could be acting like they Auntie Swanson and they ain't Auntie Swanson just because they, that's what they do out there or whatever. There ain't none of that got no solidity for me. Ain't none of that ringing true to me. Like that was like them, me having brain cancer. I was like, well, hey, we'll take this chemotherapy and everything gonna be all right. I was like, so you want me to accept a poison and that's gonna help me get better? It was counterintuitive. So sitting down and meditating and drawing circles around me and all this good stuff, whatever the hell else you got to do to get a spirit to come down and come to. Hey, listen. When I was smoking weed, I smoked weed. I seen other dudes doing coke. That shit was too complicated. They gotta pick their nose, wash their nose, chop the shit up. Like, hey, yo, if that's your drug, do your drug. I'm gonna do me over here. So, like, hey, when it come down to all the precautions and secrets and mysteries and all of here that you got to do in order to get a spirit that you ain't qualified to come down and jump into, if you want to do that, by all means, knock your head off. But to ask for me, I'm chilling. Now I'll be here when you get back. You can tell me, whatever the hell happened, but I don't feel like that's. Hey, and
you don't feel like that's a way out of the situation that we're in. You feel like the way out is through the book.
Listen, if it can solve a problem, bro, then do it. But y'all do it. I'm gonna be over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if I see it work, to each his own. You know what I'm saying? Even if I see it work, y'all come back with your hair on fire or with the baddest robes that the Matrix ever seen. I'm gonna chill over here and do mine on my end because that's the level of my understanding on the game. You know what I'm saying? So
right, and you're right. Everyone has a right to feel how they want to feel. I'm in no way, shape, or form attempting to change you coming out of your book. If that's where your comfort zone is at in that book, you can completely have your comfort zone in that book. But my thing is on a larger scale.
When I see that you got however you moving, that I don't feel like that should separate us from the ultimate plan. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you, I may not agree, but that don't mean that I ain't down with you. And when it come down to it, on a visceral level, that I don't have your back just because you doing what you're doing. Like, I don't feel like that should be, something that separates us. But at the same time, if I know some things that I know about people that have gone that route and got deep into the route, and I kept that from you, then I don't feel like I'd be your homie or your brother. I don't feel like I could call you that if I didn't tell you what I seen and I've studied extensively. You know what I'm saying? And I know some folk that was deep up, like, heavy in that thing and saw some stuff that they, that they wish they hadn't seen.
And it goes ditto for me. I wouldn't feel right being in my spirituality I am and going and see the things that I'm seeing and seeing people that come together and things like that and have brought the sun out, has moved body of waters, you know what I mean, has done miraculous things that the average man think is undone. I wouldn't feel right not telling you that you can do those same things, just like who said that? So-called from your Bible, Jesus. You see what I'm saying? He said those same things. So I would feel far off not to even let you know that those things were true. That's like you say you're on your mission. I'm on my mission too. You know what I mean?
Before Yeshua ever performed a miracle, before he ever strapped his sandals up real good to heal the blind, he went to God.
He went to Egypt. He went to ancient Egypt and studied up under some of the priesthood there and learned some things.
You missing my point. Before he ever attempted to do a miracle, he would pray to God and ask for God to release the power for him to be able to do what he was about to do. And afterward, he would seal it to that person to go and commit the same sins no more. So it was a process. There was never anything complicated about it. That was the entire point. That one doesn't have to go and purchase an altar or crystals or a dagger, or all of these trinkets and what do you call them in order to have power. That the power was from your oneness and your communion with the man above, with the Creator God, who controls all. That's the whole. It's simple. See, that's the thing. Your works won't get you there. Like all of this craftsmanship and all of this building and all of this outside working is not. It's beyond the point. We tend as a people to complicate things. Well, the Bible it's a simplifier. It's simplified. It's a simplifying thing. It makes it one issue. The only reason you don't have power is because you don't have oneness with God, and you don't have the faith that God said you would have if you had oneness with Him. That's the point.
Right.
You know, it's really so simple that it boggles the mind. You know, it's like some people can't believe that just one random dude off JFK. It had to be some kind of grander conspiracy, but we want to complicate simple things. Somebody shot, somebody got killed, period. So with God, He's saying simple. That's what Yeshua came for. He came to talk about all these folk that was washing cups, doing all this stuff on the Sabbath, doing ducking and diving, condemning folk, throwing stones. He came to simple. He was like, listen, y'all are doing too much. This is a simple thing. He came to speak against all the methodologies, all of the craftsmanship, all of the heavy laden, the heavy yoke that society and that the Sephardic Jews were putting on the people. He came to simplify that. So that's why he said he came to give you the law, because the law makes you look at the law and be like, I can't live there. And the only thing you can do is go to Him and go to the blood to be covered by the blood for the remission of your sins. So but it says in the book that this thing would be too simple for folk, and it would confound folk, and folk would find the crucifixion and resurrection to be foolishness. So,
but see, well, once again, it came from a book that has been rewritten and recycled and taken from other societies and things like that.
Listen. If you can't show me where a book hasn't gotten somebody up out of the dojo, books are being read every day. Oxford,
correct,
Juilliard,
correct.
You know,
you're very true.
You can't tell me that. And them books, some of them books have been translated and changed and insert, but the message of the book is still in the book.
Right.
So just because they come out, what are we supposed to just start burning books now? Because stuff come out of book, we just gonna burn the book?
Absolutely not.
You don't agree with the book?
Absolutely not. But okay. So that means that you don't agree with astrology books. You don't agree with,
but you don't tell. You can't tell. I have not sat here and said what I agree with or what I don't agree with as far as spirituality is concerned. All I've said is that I know I've studied all of those things to a degree, to a point where I've seen that out of all of that and knowing what I know about those specific subjects, I still choose the book.
Right.
Because I've gone full circle. I've studied those things to a pretty large degree. I've been studying since I was 6 years old. I just made 50, so we're talking about over 40 years of study. It's not like some passing fad. This is something that I've dedicated my life to. So I feel as though I have a little bit more than a even intermediate understanding about these subjects that you're bringing up: palmistry, astrology, necromancy, the mediumship, the Ouija board, all that. Where I studied them things: divination, channeling, meditation, telekinesis, teleportation, omniscience, precognitions. I've studied these things, so I there's a category for these things, and there's some levels also to those things, because just like the Hebrew side of study, there's Hebrew magic, and there's Hebrew spiritualism, and it's the tree of life. It's the Sephirim, the 10-dotted tree of life. People don't know anything about that, but that's another thing these white folks is using. But just because you see your enemy, we're not supposed to revere our enemy. We're not supposed to copy our enemy. Just because our enemy is using something against us and it seems to be working for the time.
But everybody who's using that is not our enemy. That's where you're wrong about that too.
Hey,
Everybody
listen.
who's using those things are not our enemy.
However,
A lot of those people want us to get back into using those things because what did I start off talking about before? The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. The darker people that are more in touch with with the Creator, right, are stronger and more powerful with those things that I'm talking about, right? And those things right there, but moving water, being in control of the elements, having fire with your hand, and moving water, and causing storms like the spiritual lady who causes hurricanes to come. You know what I mean? All these things, you gonna tell me these things right here wouldn't not help us get out of the situations that we are in right now?
Listen. I'm trying to figure out
that reading a Bible thumping book is gonna get you anywhere.
What do spirits have to do with any of that phenomenon? Like, how could this communicating with the dead deem you with those gifts?
How doesn't it?
If I can ask a question, if I can answer a question with the question, then we're just gonna continue to go around in circles. I ask you like a direct question. So like if I sit down and cut my hand open and drop it down on a circle that I made or whatever the hell I got to do to protect myself from evil spirits while I'm going on into this journey, or burn the incense or whatever the hell I got to do, kill a goat.
Nope. See, and those things are all misleading things. Hey, bro, sacrificing animals and things like that.
Nah, we talking about levels here. We talking about levels and sides.
Right.
So I don't know where you are. I can pretty much probably figure where you are. But I'm talking about what I know that's out there. Not misconceptions.
And there are people who practice those things, and those people right there who practice those things.
These are from books that I've read. These are from practitioners.
Right.
That were heavyweight practitioners, masons, sorcerers, witches, and warlocks. These dudes was out there doing this type of stuff. Because you don't do it, don't mean that it ain't getting done.
Absolutely not. I personally follow the laws of karma, and killing things and things like that is not at all where I'm at. Killing animals and things like that. That is in no way.
Have them scruples. Some folk out there.
We're not talking about sacrificing goats and drinking goat blood and all this other crazy mess that a lot of people in spirituality has done. You that's where you get your bad effects when you're doing that. You know what I mean?
Trust and believe there's people out there doing it, and those are the ones that's the most dangerous. Those are the ones that got the most nefarious reasons behind doing it.
The one in Haiti, because they're messing with people's free will. Yeah, that is nothing along what I'm talking about. Nothing at all. What I'm talking about does not exist right now. Again, it's been banished since back in the beginning when everybody took and started doing what they wanted to do because they wanted faster results.
It don't exist.
What's that?
What are you saying? It doesn't exist right now.
What I am talking about doing doesn't exist right now. It's just now being formulated again from back when it was existing. So if you ever look deeply into this, I would tell you to look into Galacticus. You ever heard of Galacticus before?
Sure. I've read books that are on this subject matter, the reptiles, Galacticans.
No. It's a movement. It's a movement right here by a guy named Ganos Grill, who started Galacticus.
You talking about the guy you came to see out here in Houston?
Correct. And the stuff that he's practicing, the stuff that he's talking about, has nothing to do with what you're talking about. Has nothing to do with sacrificing anything like that. It has to do upon calling upon the right people and the right gods and the right things to help you on your path back to salvation and where we were before this hand.
That got anything to do with that?
No.
People that.
I fully well know, and that's part of the mission here. To get rid of and stop those people from practicing those things, but they're actually getting rid of themselves right now in this time period. So the people that are practicing things like that are ill will, right now, karma is coming fast as I don't know what right now. So you reap what you sow. So when you do bad come to you. So as you out here killing, the planet,
and you meditating and you allowing ancestors to come and talk to you. I mean, like, is that
and meditation isn't what you think it is either. Meditation doesn't always have to be sitting down, sitting still. It just a lot of times meditation can be.
I'm just asking, like, I'm not trying to get into the semantics of it. I'm asking what the overall object is.
The overall object is to save this planet. That's the overall object. You, as melanated people, were here as protectors of this planet. You are here protectors of this planet. And you are asleep right now. And the planet right now, you are like the red blood cells of the planet. You have to wake up to come back and help this planet first. Because without no planet, there is nothing else. So you want to talk about there's all these religious things in the book and things. That book wouldn't exist or nothing like that once the planet is gone. You know what I mean? So as long as they continue to destroy the air, the water, the food, and we turn this planet directly into what Venus is, you know what I mean? We are causing our own demise by sitting here not doing anything about it. That's the mission I'm on. We have to wake up and use the elements of this planet that our God given, because we match this planet 99.9%. We got to get up off our butts and use those things that we have the power over to bring this planet, because nothing else is more important than that. There's nothing else more important than that. There's no job. There's no book. There's nothing else more important than the survival of this planet. Because without us, there is no planet. And as you see, every day you wake up, they're doing something. Doing what? Destroying this planet even more, taking from this planet. Do we even know what happens to the planet the more oil you take from it? Do you even know what happens to the planet when you take more gas from it? Do you even know what happens to this planet when you remove all the gold and the silver and the diamonds that we do? Do we have any idea what the Mother Earth itself used these things for? That's what I'm learning, Leslie. You know what I mean? We can't keep doing these things. We can't keep destroying big bodies of water. We can't keep doing these things. We can't keep eating the bottom feeders in the ocean that's supposed to be cleaning the ocean up. The reason the ocean is so dirty because we're eating the shrimp. We're eating the oysters. We're eating the things that are supposed to be cleaning the ocean up as a humanity. We lost our dang on mind. You know what I mean? So how do we expect the earth to correct itself or clean itself back up when we're eating the things that it needs to correct? But because we lack the knowledge of it, because we're so self-centered on everything else, that's our biggest problem right there. That's our biggest problem right there.
You know what's funny about that whole tirade? Every point you hit is hit in the Bible. So,
and of course it would be. Of course it would be, because they gave that to indoctrinate us to keep following that book.
Like every point you
that book is not the end all be all. That's my whole point of it. That book is not the end all be all. That book is.
I have a question.
What's that?
Listen, I have a question. It ain't nobody out here trying to limit your learning curve.
So, but how is that? How you said it's in that book? But what people are using that book is doing what I'm talking about. Find me the group of people out here that's using that book, that's out here trying to stop what's going on with this planet, because there's nothing else more important. If we all sit here and think about it, there's nothing else more important than the survival of this planet. Because without the planet, we don't exist.
Hold on. I need to say something.
Go ahead.
I've not said nothing all night. I disagree with you on that matter, only from this standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Only from this standpoint only. We've been talking about spirituality throughout the whole. It started with spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do any type of spirituality, it must, not it might, it must require faith. It has to.
Faith and no fear.
Yes. So you have to have faith that the Creator is going to take care of the planet. You got to have faith in anything that you do.
That's what He made you for.
So He made me to what?
To help this planet. You are the protector of this planet. That's why you've been on the bottom as melanated people. You match everything on this planet. Every part of your DNA match, everything on this planet that grows is for you.
So what is He for?
So that's why you got the ginger root. That's why you got all these things growing to help what? It helps your body, doesn't it?
Yeah, what is He for then?
What is who for?
The Creator.
I don't even like going into the heat, because I don't believe in the heat.
However how you identify, whether it's he, she, or they, whatever, what are they for?
What are they for?
Yeah.
They created the whole universe in heavens and earth.
So all they did was create, and that's it? That's not all powerful.
They create, and they're sitting back learning from us about his creation. So they're watching us. The Creator itself is watching us. And watch what we do, and watch it about. So He's watching the good side of Himself and the bad side of Himself. That's why He said you was made in His eyes.
So any Creator is not all-knowing?
It's not all-knowing?
Yeah, the Creator would be all-knowing, wouldn't He?
Of course He is.
So why would He need to watch us if He's all-knowing and He already knows?
He's watching and learning from what He created to see exactly how it would go. Right? He's watching the rise and fall. Rise and fall. Like what we just have. The fall, right? What has been written. We're going to come back and rise again, correct? And it has to be, and it's risen and fallen from what? His true people he sent to help what? Help raise it back up.
So he sent them.
Correct.
Knowing that they're going to raise it back up.
That's what I'm here for.
At some point, sometime.
Let us fall, didn't it?
So did he know that?
Yes, he did.
So why would he watch it to see if he knows it?
Watching and learning from us.
So why would you
Because
learn something from
that person was never in so-called human form. He was never in ant form. He was never in, that person was never in none of these forms like that. He created everything and watching it. Like he's watching the planets right now. Saturn's losing his ring. Do we have anything about that? He watched Venus get destroyed, right? The twin planet of Earth. The twin planet of Earth, the only thing different between Venus and the Earth is a greenhouse effect. Because they ruined all the trees on Earth, a certain group of people.
So you believe in you and not the creator then?
I have to believe in me first, because that's what he gave me. I'm in his image, right?
You're made. So an image is just like a shadow, like you know. Remember when we was in kindergarten? They said outline. Mm-hmm. That's all the image is. Mm-hmm. The image it doesn't do what the other person can do.
Sure doesn't. There's all different types on this planet, all different types.
And so, a lot of things that you said that I didn't get to talk on, that I raised my hand. I don't know, but I just get into it. I was having fun. But first of all, we're not called Christians. A man gave us that name.
Correct.
We called disciples. if you're going off what Jesus left, he said that I left disciples. A man called us Christians. You know what I'm saying? So when you say Christians do this, I'm not a Christian though. So if you ask me, and I go to church, I'm gonna be there tomorrow morning, right? Mm-hmm. If you ask me what, I was talking to a female one time, and she said, "What's your denomination?" Now, by definition, my denomination would be apostolic, but I don't say I'm apostolic. I say I'm in a relationship with God, and because I'm in a relationship with God, I can read that Bible over and over and over, but except God revealed to me, it does no good for me to read it. I can come up with all the knowledge I want to come up with. I can't get to certain parts of that Bible until he reveals. Some stuff just have to be revealed. Mm-hmm. You just can't just keep on reading and reading and reading and reading, and then all of a sudden you're going to read, right? And I do agree with you. I do agree with you when you said there's more than one God. And matter of fact, it's in that Bible. Mm-hmm. I can take you to a story when they was on a boat with Jonah. Every man prayed to their God. Mm-hmm. Right? If every man prayed to their God, that's telling you that there's that people have more than one God. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But however, there's also a scripture that we believe, you know, Brandon and Leslie have heard this before. He says, if there's another God out there, I don't know him. He said, there's another one out there, I haven't heard of him, I don't know him. Right? So I'm more more aligned with Leslie as far as he says when he says things like, I'm gonna go with the book. Mm-hmm. But I'm also in the line with Leslie when he says, hey, if you want to jump off the roof and fly, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you if that's what you want to believe, because I don't want to. We don't want to control you. And some people want to control through that Bible. And you cannot do that. Mm-hmm. It is not to control. And the reason why the young people are not going to their parents, because their parents are not picking up, reading, and challenging these preachers like that Bible tells you to do. It tells you to pick it up. It tells you to read it. It tells you to question anything that you hear. It says that. But if you ain't picking up, questioning your leader and saying something to your leader because you feel like you can't say something because the leader turned the word on you and say, anybody go against me is going against God. I think it's in the movie Priest. Remember the movie Priest when he was fighting the vampires? Mm-hmm. To go against the churches, to go against God. No, it ain't. You dictate stuff to control people.
Correct.
That's not what that's for. Mm-hmm. And like Leslie said again, which I agree with him, it's really, really simple. And the simple thing is this, Leslie, back me up from my wrong. Either you believe or you don't.
Right, point blank. Give me the glory or don't. It's all about glory and who you choose to glorify.
Correct. Yes. So what happens to the people that don't believe and don't follow that book?
If you don't believe and you don't follow the book, mm-hmm. the book states he that don't believe is lost. Just lost. It says it. You're lost.
Lost.
Yeah.
So those people that are lost then aren't the ones that's helping the planet or anything like that?
They don't say that we help the planet. Our Bible, I'm saying our. Leslie, let me know if you go against what I'm saying. Just say I don't agree with that. Okay, Leslie.
Okay.
It says that we can do nothing without Jesus or God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we depend on Him for everything. Right? We don't make no move without Him. And like Leslie was saying, before he got to go do what he wanted to do, he would go talk to the Father so he can go do it. He was trying to tell us, hey, before you go to the Father and ask. Because you can't really do this without God. Go to the Father and ask. Go to the Father and meditate. And I do believe that that some of the stuff that you're saying, that it can be done, like the medium, the shifter, and all that stuff. I just think man took it and gave it another word and changed it up.
Used it for bad. Used it for bad.
Yeah, so like you say telekinesis, that means to be able to change things with your mind or be able to
move things with your mind. Yeah.
Right. So we call that, we gotta, so before we do anything, we gotta go pray and get discernment. We gotta go pray and get discernment before we do anything. We just depend on God where people who do other gods might not have to depend on their God. Well, if you're going to do the one in that book...
Then where I come from, those people, we pray until people who already done it before us for their help and guidance in doing it.
Okay.
I go pray to Lord Thoth. I go pray to different deities that came to me. They came to me on my path and told me to read about it. That's how I found every spirit guide, because every one of us has a spirit guide. Every one of us has a higher self. Every one of us has someone on the other side who's helping you on your journey. Every one of us does.
Can you change?
And that's exactly what I believe.
Can you change your verbiage a little bit?
What's that?
Your verbiage sound like you're in the cult. Let me tell you why.
Of course they would call it that.
Let me tell you why I'm telling you.
Go ahead.
Because I would have to not do it too. It just don't have I can't tell you to do something I'm not willing to do, right? Because then at that particular point, I'm just judging yours, and I can't judge yours, right? You can't say, when I say stuff about, I say us, our. I don't say everybody. When you say everybody has to do it like that, it's not like we all got to get on your plan and do what you do.
No.
But when you say it, that's how it comes off. That's why
because
change our verbiage.
Everybody wasn't meant to do my plan.
Correct. But when you talk,
everybody wasn't meant to do my. But I'm searching for the people who are.
Yes. So like whenever I say something about like what I do, I say us. I don't say everybody. When you say everybody, you group it everybody again. And it's like I just said, if everybody don't believe my Jesus, all you niggas is going to hell. For real?
So like what he talked about like he said about the mystery schools. Everybody wasn't. Why do you think they called it mystery school? Everyone wasn't allowed in. The head person at mystery school would come in and have this conversation with you, and they would see where you at. And once they see where you at, that's when see if you allowed to have the tools to be used to help save the planet. The tools to be used, and I have been, from using y'all term, anointed to be able to do this. Okay. So I learned some different things to help out this planet a whole lot.
That's what's up,
right? So I'm in this juncture. How I got this far is by calling on different things to help me on my journey, using different things to help me on my journey. But the first thing I did learn was what? Protection. So before I learned anything else, just like when you learn karate, you learn protection first, right? So I learned those things first. You know what I mean? This is the things that are being brought on this planet. And is it meant for everybody? Because everybody can't be trusted with these things. The people that was in these things that had these things had misuse of power. Yep. And they're suffering from the misuse of power in this thing that I'm in. You know what I mean? And that's what has to be eradicated at this point in time. Has to be. That's why the earth is responding the way it's responding right now. So the way I feel for the people who don't follow that path. Okay. Because let's understand this. I know death is not the end. You right? You know what I mean? I know that for a fact, right? And the thing about death not being the end, we're gonna see right now a time period of death beyond belief. And I told this to my family a little while back, and about 10, 15 years back, and look at what we're in right now. Look at what we're leading to right now. Death beyond belief. Because there are so many non-believers that are caught up in their own self-centeredness and thinking what they're doing is going to help anything at all when they're sadly mistaken. They're sadly mistaken. You must put, how you say, put the Lord first. You must put Gaia first. You must put this planet first. Because without it, there's nothing else. There's nothing else of more importance than this planet. That's where we're going wrong. That's exactly where we're going wrong. We think work is more important. We think having kids is more important. We think having riches is more important. That's why it's stated in your Bible, rich man never go to heaven. Because you're in hell right now. You're living in hell. If you look up the definition of hell, being out of control, that's what you're living in right now. This place we call terror, this place we call Gaia, it's a school. And we ain't graduating right now. That's why we're getting over 4 right now. It's a school that we're not graduating in right now. Because there's so many people that because the mystery schools were lost and things like that. There's so many people that's being misled by different, what I would call cults, that don't want to hear a better way. But when you hear the sound of my voice and the things that come out of our mouth, in some way, shape, or form, everyone who's in a relation, feel me. Because you have to feel that there's nothing else more important than this planet. There's nothing else. And if we allow it to keep going that path of its own, and we allow these fools to kill all the trees, we don't exist as humanity.
So I'm going to agree to disagree with you.
Okay, fine.
I don't hold no significance in the planet. All of my significance is in my Creator. That's where my power lies, in my Creator, which is the Father, Jesus, whichever you want to, how you want to call it, whatever you want to do. But I respect what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Now, what I will do, which my Bible does tell me to do, is to at least take a look at what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It don't say throw it away. If you're reading it right, it says whatever somebody tell you, like Leslie said he do, go study it to see.
Messenger.
But it tells you to do that.
Messenger.
I don't, from my point of view, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What Tony says, I don't think it takes away from what you're talking, with your belief in the Creator is.
Okay.
Because the Creator actually would want us to take care of His earth.
He would, yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So I don't think it really takes away from that. I think all that is part of the plan. The other day, my daughter, now usually I called myself. She rolled down the window, she's getting ready to throw something out the window. I said, don't throw that out the window. Mm-hmm. I said, we ain't got to be like, everybody else and dirty up the planet. Now, I never talk like that. Mm-hmm. Real talk. But I'm just saying, I don't think it takes away from it.
Okay.
I mean, but that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I think that's all encompassing. I think,
like I said,
God
man,
wants us to be.
The Bible touches on everything that He's saying. It's like somebody taking the Bible and distilling it and saying that it ain't the Bible, so they can say something else. But the Bible speaks on each and every one of those subjects that you just brought up in its own way, and in many different ways, as a matter of fact. Because the planet is where the new heaven is going to come down to. And the whole, besides ourselves, the whole fight is about what is to be done with this planet. Because whether God or the devil is in control of it, kind of writes the fate of this planet. And if the planet weren't important, then the devil would have never tempted Jesus with it. So
it's of utmost importance.
There's no one here, especially amongst the scholars that I think discounts the importance of the planet, nor the fact that we're the protectors of the planet, because we're the kings, and with kingship comes responsibility.
Yes,
with
it
kingship
does.
comes ownership. Sure. So nobody here is missing that point, because if somebody come to my kingdom and burns a bush, then that person has to answer to me. Correct. At the end of all playings, at the end of all sayings and doings. That person has to answer to me as the king of that property, of the king of that nation. So sovereignty dictates that you take care of what you're sovereign over, or you'll be sovereign over nothing.
Yes.
So the point here is that it basically boils down to semantics and the path a man chooses to take in order to really try and achieve the same goal. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying that whatever route it is that you deem to be correct, I'm all for your taking it. But at the same time, if I can support you by being whom I am, because everybody in the body don't have the same list of things to do. My fingers don't do what my eyes do. My mouth don't do what my feet do. So whomever it is in the body that feels like this is what they're supposed to be doing innately within the body, then do that. I'm going to support you because there's no telling if we're not going to need that. Hell, but as far as being a learned individual and being able to impart my knowledge and being able to be a leader of men, those things have been innately given to me. So that's why I choose to use those tools and try to get those tools to give me more tools or sharpen up the tools that I have that aren't as developed. Because it's incumbent upon me, because it's going to be a time where the rubber going to beat the road. Everybody feeling that, whoever you are, whatever walk of life you're coming from. It's going to be a time where the line is clearly drawn between people that want to see the future of this planet be fruitful, and people that just want to use the planet until it ain't no more.
There you go. There you go.
So there's no, it's coming. Like,
and it's called a balance. It's called a balance, and we're off balance right now.
What all the death is about, what all the earthquakes about, what all the hurricanes are about, is because there's a tipping point that's getting ready to be reached. And once that tipping point is reached, then it's going to be put past the point of return. So people are starting to see that the people that we trusted to put in power are not the people that they're purporting themselves to be. So that's cross-generational, that's cross-religional, religious, it's cross creed, it's cross sexual orientation. Because at the core of it, if we have nowhere to stand, then it's all a moot point. So besides anybody's religion or beliefs or what they extol to be, the truth about what needs to be done with this planet is a greater truth than almost all of those, just because of the importance and the immediacy that we would feel if something were to critically go wrong with where we are positioned in this universe. So to keep it simple, that's what I always say, is to get with each other on what we agree on. And everybody agrees that there's something that needs to be done with the people that are just using this planet as if the resources have no end.
So like, if a great hurricane came, right, and was coming our direction, wouldn't you want a person like me around that could make the hurricane go a different direction?
So you haven't seen the people that was down in Florida where the hurricane was coming and they all got together and prayed and the hurricane moved?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I have.
Okay. So, I mean, we saying the same thing. It's just different routes that's being taken. Mm-hmm. I feel as though
earthquake starts and can stop hurricanes. The what they call the Fantastic Seven that was in China. They got released. These people that can walk on water and all these magnificent things they can do. That they can't find them right now. They can disappear, and these things aren't just stories, fellas. they're not just stories. They're actual factual people, and they were put here on purpose during this time period to help the planet out. The only
thing that
everybody back in the day wasn't a shaman. You had the guys who was more in touch. So each person that was good with something else, they put them in charge. So if you were a good psychic and know what was coming out of him, I think I want to talk to you. You know what I mean? I think I want to talk to you for you to tell me which direction to go to put my family out of peril. Correct?
True.
So if we knew these things are possible, why wouldn't we use them? Why wouldn't we discover self? Now, if you're one of those people who don't want to discover self, you have every right not to discover self. You have every right not to go into you. But I know, growing up myself, I love superhero movies. You know how many people I've come across that have no interest in superhero movies? So I know everybody has their own path. They really, utterly do. And I'm not here to change anyone's path. I'm here to find people who feel me, who vibrate with me, who wants to come on the path of helping this planet, who feels they have abilities that can be used, who are the Michael Jordan of these abilities, who are the Kobe Bryants, not LeBron James, but all these abilities. You know?
It's people that could do amazing things.
Correct.
That work in the Bible. You know what I mean? We have prophets that could call down fire. We've had strong men. We've had people that could move things with their mind. We've had people that had control of the elements in the Bible. They were the prophets of the Bible. The Bible is full of superheroes. David had a group of strong men that was so incredible that it's hard to even really decipher what they was really doing in the Bible. You got to read that thing twice. So, we're talking about giants. We're talking about whatever, Stan Lee could ever dream is right there in the Bible. As a matter of fact, that's where he got the stuff. So, as a Mason, he studied the Bible. That's one of the prerequisites of being a Mason, especially high level. So he got them stories from the Bible. So
like the Inquisition and things like that, those were people who were using the Bible, right, and killing people like me.
Well, that don't
killing
make
people
the Bible
like me.
Bad. I mean, that don't make the Bible bad, because people was misusing the Bible. Hell, I got guns. I don't go out here and murder folk with the gun. Ain't bad. It's the man that picked the gun up and used it the wrong way that's bad.
Right. So as a whole, right now, if we went down, if I went to almost any church in Toledo, Ohio, right, and said these things, what would be my first check mark when I left?
Nobody here on this panel, I think I could say safely, is touting any church. Nobody here is of a complete and utter denomination. Nobody. We've all made that point. You're not gonna get no hell. The way I believe, I can't walk in no church and sit comfortable, because a lot of the things that I've seen and that I've studied for myself that Pastor Porchop never wanted me to know would keep me from having a good, decent conversation with his pork eating behind. So the pinky ring pastors and these perm pastors and these pig pork pastors, I don't have a good relationship with them. You know what I mean? And they the first ones, because them the biggest coons that you got on the block. And why in God's name will we sit and talking about churches when it's 5 churches on the block and neither one of them will get with the other one to try to make the church either bigger or do something in the neighborhood that can make the neighborhood better? Because you Methodist, and because this man is Presbyterian, and because they Epicurean and whatever the hell else. We got, but and it's the smallest of things that the difference is, but this whole difference is throwing us off to where, only this Pastor Porchop can get this 40 grand and this Pastor Porchop over here can get 80 grand a month for his people, because we not smart enough as pastors to see that if we put all these people together, that we can get more from them to them and for ourselves. So, ain't nobody, I don't think it's anybody here that's touting churches, because the church is part of the beast system that's keeping us down and keeping us lacking in the first place. So, how dare Pastor Porchop pull up in a Cadillac and everybody in his congregation ain't in the Cadillac?
Right.
Well, I got something against that, though. I hear you. I do. But if I got a church, I'm talking about me, and I pulled up in a Cadillac and you ain't got one, I punched in. I punched in for 80 hours. I got a right to have a Cadillac if I punched in 80 hours. Now, I'm talking about metaphorically. I'm not talking about person to person. Some people take that.
I'm not talking about like in a complete instant somebody just pull up at the church and he ain't, saying, if that pastor is teaching correctly, this is my point. Maybe I should have said it like this. If that pastor is teaching correctly, then everybody should be on the same playing field.
Yes.
He should be bringing his people up to the level that he's on. Correct. If he has indeed reached that level through the proper channels.
Correct.
So maybe I should have said it like that.
Well, a lot of people say that. That's why I said that, Leslie.
So what happened if Tony pull up and I pull up here on a polar bear with 4 black bears, 3 lions, and a tiger on my side, and we all walking strong together? Because I'm working with the planet, I'm working with things right here. That's my idea. You know what I mean? That's why animals are start being attracted to you. Working with nature, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
No, somebody like me would come ask you, how'd you get that done? That's just who I am.
That's to me, right down to it. I want to know things like that. You know what I'm saying? But then it's certain secrets that's being kept. There's certain things that have to remain to be a mystery until I go through certain initiation or whatever to get the knowledge. Some of that knowledge is cordoned off, just like Tony was saying earlier, that you just you can't just hit people with the knowledge.
No, you can't just hit what I'm doing to everybody. Not at all.
Basically,
that whole your heart weight on a feather. That has to be done to see where you at, to see if you one day gonna have misuse of power. Because
that's why I stick to God, and because all of them accoutrements and all of the rituals and these initiatives, it's a free pathway. It's simple. It's my belief and my faith in an undead God that can grant me certain things without ritual, without work, without craft. It's a simple. It's more simple than a cell phone call.
Right.
I don't have to dial no numbers. This is what I choose. This is why, as a man of mathematics and a man of formulas and a man that has been taught, when you got too many moving parts in your plan is bound to fail. What I've learned is that simplicity is a sign of genius. And that is what shows me God. When I see something simple and that goes full circle, because God works in a cipher, when I see that alerts me to the fact that that's mine. Because my God is simple. My God is reasonable. And my God is tangible through nothing more than my faith. And that is that. If I have the faith of a mustard seed, I can move mountains. So that means to me that if I'm gonna pick up on anything, it needs to be by faith. If I have faith in a chair that I sit down in that chair and that chair gonna hold me up, then why would I have faith in my God? It's a simple thing. I don't have to go buy nothing from the store. I don't have to talk to no people. I don't have to go to no schools. I don't have to do none of that. Before I even get the gumption and the unction to go to schools, I have faith that I can believe in God or have him bestow upon me the knowledge that it's going to take me to get through the school. Just because the faith grants me the commission to go. So, hey man, like when it comes down to what I've learned, simplicity always works. Put bullet in gun, pull back trigger, gun, shoot, boom, and that thing been in effect for 100-some years because it's simple.
Now, what happens when you have a fella like me? When the bullet come out, I can turn it around and move it because it's metal and come back and throw it back at you.
You know what?
Wielding the power of the elements. Because that was prophesied too. That one day a metal will take over the planet.
If that's been given to you through your routes and meditations or whatever, then it's been given to me to do the same thing. So, because the God I serve, through simplicity, can grant me whatever is needed to continue until I get the mission that He put me on the planet. I'm immortal until I can complete the commission that He gave to me as a soldier on this planet.
Right. And those things that I'm talking about, doing those things take practice to do. Those things are not something that you just come out the womb be able to do. Those things are things that you unlock from within you to be able to do those things.
With me, the key to unlock all those locks that we're talking about is faith.
Right. And see,
even if you don't think that you can do those things, then you might as well not. Because magic is heavily, and sorcery and meditation is all heavily dependent on intent.
That's
and
right.
Intent is nothing but another word for faith. So we talking about the same thing. We just using different terminology. That's why I really, to me, it's semantics. Because I'm not a polytheist, and because I'm not a ritualist. So I feel like my path is simpler. I've boiled it down to faith.
I mean, but in the church, we do understand they use a lot of rituals, right?
Man, that don't have nothing to do with me.
But they use a lot of rituals. They use a lot.
Listen, and ritual, tradition, these are things that Yeshua taught against. That just because they doing it in the church don't mean that everybody think it's right. There's a lot of people that are of the book that won't step foot in the church because the church has lost its way.
And we do rituals at home all the time, right?
Well, listen,
Brushing your teeth is, I mean, that's not a ritual.
Well,
There's a whole lot when you get into what a really a ritual is. You can get into all these things is some form of a ritual. You know what I mean?
Just because something is done repetitively does not make it a ritual.
Says who?
That's one particular use of the word ritual.
Thank you. Ritual, but it's all different types of rituals.
No. See, I don't like when people do stuff like that with words. When we talking about ritual, everybody in here know what the hell we talking about.
No. But we can't just make it one word what you want to make it. The language was meant there, and there was meant for context, right? Where was meant for context. Well, ritual
is exactly my point. This is exactly my point. We cannot bend words and make them mean what we want. That was the whole point for what I'm saying. There's ritual with a big R, and there's ritual that's just something that you must do to make it through the day. Now, if somebody sit down with intent, see, because what makes something a ritual or not is intent. Right? If I sit down and I I'm trying to work a thing, and I do a ritual that's been done for thousands of years in order to work that thing, that is entirely different than me getting up, scratching my ass, and brushing my teeth. That's them two different things. Now, a work, we're talking about a ritualistic work, is far more different than a simple ritual as far as cooking or washing your ass. If you're not doing those things with a particular output in mind, then that doesn't qualify it to be a ritual in the traditional sense that you're trying to use the word in.
In a traditional sense.
If all I want to do is get my teeth clean, then I'm not trying to see water move, or I'm not trying to, call down on a particular spirit to come and holler at me tomorrow night or whatever. Rituals can be used differently in context of the sentence or in context of the intent put behind the word. So there should be no glossing over that or a grouping of the word to make it just fit whatever particular, because that when you start doing that, that's then we blurring the lines. I
mean, but like what you just said, is for each his own belief. I believe a ritual is a it's all the same thing and how you want to believe that it could be. You know what I mean? But a ritual, in any sense, is still a ritual. In any context you use it is
whatever. All right,
but that have to be something that we have to agree to disagree on. Then.
Yeah, you know what? In my eyes, there's no disagreement on that because what I said was rather simple. We know what rituals are. Any intelligent individual knows a ritual from a ritual. Pageantry is a ritual. You have some things that are instinctive that's done that you can look at that particular thing, making your bed up every day. You can look at that as a ritual,
and it surely is. It's
not a particular ritual. It is a ritual in a smaller sense. It's a ritual in the fact that it's repetitive and done on a repetitive. But like I said, there's no goal other than having the bed be made. That's going behind the particular action. So
the ritual of making your bed is actually one of which, because you make your bed every morning, those are people who pretend to become millionaires in their life.
See, but listen, I'm not denying that. That's not the point.
It's a ritual though. It's a ritual, and that's what we.
Come on, bro. You know what I'm talking about. I
didn't say I didn't know what you're talking about, but I'm saying we're expanding our mind. The things that we do a little bit in our life like that makes a big difference in our whole life.
That ritual wouldn't even start if there wasn't a certain discipline and mindset involved from the beginning. People make their beds up. People eat a certain way. People get up.
Right.
Make themselves go
back in ancient times. The way you made your tent up, the way you made your hut up. It was all different rituals for that was done for a reason, to show different gods and different things like that where you stood at in your heart.
Listen, we are talking about
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
talking
this is
about.
just some of the things that I learned. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? This is
Listen,
some of the things I learned,
listen.
and that's why you got to watch everything that you do in your life.
Well, that's part of living. A man must watch
Correct.
everything that his hands go to, whatever he ingesting and whatever he's saying. The man have to be on top of these things.
That's right.
But
That's
like,
right.
as far as um, a work, ritual work, and just doing something repetitive throughout life, there is a line of delineation between those two things. Period. So
Someone said, I mean, but when you go through some of the things that I've learned, you learn that there are more bigger things about why you do what you do, and the purpose
sure,
of what you do.
we talking about mindset. We talking about
No,
mindset.
it's talking about the
We
little
talking
things,
about
tying your shoe up and things like that. You know what I mean?
this is. I mean, a man that's
Which
gonna sit up
foot?
and walk with
Which foot you walk with it first?
a man that's gonna walk with his shoe untied has a different mindset than a man that's gonna tie his shoe up.
The hand that you brush your teeth with, and why you brush that hand with your teeth is all. It's all. I can go into a loads of things that you do regularly in your life, and the reason that you use it, and the reason that you do it. There's
Well,
actually a lot of meaning into it.
That does not make that thing a work.
But it does. It does.
Whatever, man.
It shows certain guys what you're capable of and what you're doing in the life to see if you're capable of bigger and. Ooh, yeah, you got to keep away the microphone. The headphones is by the microphone. There we go. See that? Yeah. Go ahead.
How do I?
Yep. You good? You good?
Is there dogs?
Oh. Go take. Yep. Oh shoot! Hold on one second.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Text your mom to come back and let him through. Yeah, because she probably put it in the bedroom.
She did. I sent her a text too. I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh no, you good. You good. Yeah. See, and that's just some of the things I learned on my path about how important everything that was you're doing, because you're constantly under watch from the spirit world, and that's just what I believe in. You know what I mean? And you're doing things to show that your worth on your path to the spirit world. Wait, hold on.
You know, to each his own, man. Like,
Yeah,
I know. I know that we, that we are watched over. I understand that. We may have different beliefs on who it is that's doing the watching.
Correct.
I know I'm watched.
Correct.
That on my path I must choose right more than I choose wrong. So
correct.
It's simpler for me because I don't have to pay attention to who's watching me when I'm brushing my teeth or whatever lessons I'm issuing out while I'm doing it. That's what I'm gonna always.
When you want to be,
I'm gonna gravitate towards the simple.
When you want to be granted certain things that to be able to be done on this planet, like what I'm talking about. You have to show your worth, and that's what the 12 laws of karma talks about.
That's what 2 Timothy 2:15 says for me. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved." So all I have to do is study.
Right.
I don't have to do. It gets simple for me.
Right.
I'm a natural studier.
And the path I'm on is not that simple. It's not for the faint of heart.
Hey,
when you hear on a higher scale, on a higher level of thinking, and a higher level of what you can do with this shell we call the human body, there's certain works that you have to do on a daily basis. And if you feel like you can't do those things, that guess what? It wasn't meant for you. It was probably meant for you to do like you stated several times, the simpler things. I don't want to do the simpler things. I want to do the bigger things to be able to have a bigger impact on the planet. That's just personally my goal. You know what I mean?
I thank God for taking that yoke from around my neck, man. I know that when time comes, I have faith that when time comes, whatever particular miracle, if it's needed, and at that particular point, it'll be bestowed upon me to achieve that or perform that. I feel as though, that I'm free from having to go down any other path but the simple one.
Right, right, and see, and that's the exact opposite of what I feel. I'm on the path of what. Have you ever heard of a thing called ascension? I'm on the path of ascension. Well, if I choose to come back to this planet, it's up to me to choose because I've done my work here the first time of what I'm doing to have a choice whether to come back to this planet or not. I mean, because this place is a school. And once you come to learn this place is a school, a lot of people ain't graduating. A lot of people ain't graduating from the school. You know what I mean? So
my trait tells me that once I run this race, I'm done. Once I do the fight and fight the good fight, I'm done. I get to post up with God and glory, and I'm so glad about that every morning I wake up. So you know, I have to be down with what I'm down with because of the simplicity of it, and not me trying to come back to this place again and do nothing else. Listen, once I run this race, I get glory at the end of mine. So I'm gonna roll with that every time.
Right, and that's just like the Muslims. They believe when they do their works, the Muslims when they do their work, they believe they go into a paradise with a bunch of virgins. Right, that's they believe. Right, they believe no matter what their work is, when they die, they go into.
Hey, I don't want no 70. I don't want no virgin, buddy. I want glory.
Right. So I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to get you to see that there are different people on different paths and things like that of belief. But there's only really one truth. Once you learn what I've learned, you really learn there ain't this many different outs of this planet. Otherwise you keep recycling back.
I feel bad for you, bro. I feel bad for you on that one. I really do. Because that's the sign of salvation is glory. Like I get glory at the end. I get to let God continue to fight my battles for me on this plane, because this plane is not the whole. This ain't the whole of existence. That's why I say some of that stuff is incredibly short sighted. Because if all I got to look forward to is my existence on this planet, then what the hell am I getting up and doing this thing for? I'm promised a paradise. I'm promised a oneness with God, which is really what all souls strive for. Which is why any man is on whatever particular spiritual path he's on. He's in desperate seeking of a oneness with God. So if there's a higher truth out there, if there's a pathway that can get me to that point or any point closer on my travels to the ultimate point, then that's the pathway I'm going to take. And so most people of belief, most people that have any inkling that there's some larger truth out there, really what they're saying is, I'm going to use that truth to get close to God, either the God in me or the God that is, that God that be. So, it's semantics at this point. What I'm really trying to say. Every man is out there, if he ain't just some NPC, just a zombie, because there's certain groups of men out there that's just completely and utterly asleep, and the thought of spirituality in any form is foolishness to him. So
correct.
Having a spiritual conversation with a man like that, you're wasting your time. But men that's on these journeys, men that are on these pathways to try to achieve ascension, if you will, as you said, to use your word, then what is the ultimate goal of that ascension? Is to becoming God yourself, or meeting with God, to become part of that consciousness.
We already are gods.
So I mean, it's
not seeking to become, seeking to seek the God within.
So I actually have a question about that way of thinking then. So, in this realm, energy cannot be created from nothing, and it can't be destroyed into nothing. So, then where does your energy go after your current life is done in this realm?
My book tells me that when I close my eyes, I'm with the master, who's the ultimate energy. My energy goes into his energy, and we become one energy, essentially. And that being at the soul, at the core of my being, my highest want, and that at the core of my being, that's just been innately put inside me. That is what I look forward to, not to be reborn or to miss the bus to God consciousness. I don't feel as though, I feel like that would be more of a punishment than any type of reward. So that's why the 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 thought of hell and being separated from God is one thing that, you know, a vessel that's made from God won't be, that'll be hell. Separation from God, hell don't even have to exist as much as separation from God exists. So people that have a problem with hell, what they're not understanding that hell represents is separation from God. So at its core, um, a man, a being, wants to be one with God in some way, shape, or form. It's not got the God of Himself, like I said earlier, or the all loving God, all knowing God, whatever. To be separated or to be impeded in that from that path, or that goal, is something that is what drives a man in order to achieve higher and higher things, or to study more and more until you reach a certain point to where you're ready to receive those things. So um, when it comes down to it, and when somebody gives it a hard magnifying glass look, it's about glory, man, and who you choose to glorify at the base of it all. In order to acknowledge the fact that your creator is the one who created you, gave you the love that enough to give you life, and in your life, giving your life to him and honoring him in such a way that people can see that he is in you and you are in him, letting your light so shine, so that changes the world, so that is the end of poverty, so that love simply, right, the word love has four different meanings. Like we were talking about ritual, and there's different meanings. The word love, there's four different types of love, and that agape love is the love that it goes beyond all understanding, and that's the type of love that we need more of. If we were to have that type of love, that would be the solve that healed most of the ills of this planet, regardless
Well,
of the
agape
race.
love that you just mentioned in ancient Greek time, that was man boy love.
Well, that's uh, well, I've never seen it be used in that context.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Well,
Agape means the definition
well,
of in Greek. It means that
well,
man boy love.
the Greek translation of it that I've seen is unconditional love. I ain't seen nothing about no same sex love and that. Now I can see how somebody could take it to mean that, or try to drive it into that square peg into a circle hole and mean it, but that's not what the traditional agape is. As a matter of fact, um, so you know, either way, uh, with the love, the agape love, that in the way that I'm using it, uh, unconditional type of love, where it's positively connotated, because I don't believe that messing with no boys is love at all.
Yeah, but the Greek, the ancient Greek societies, they
Well,
were quite
far be it from me to dispute whatever the hell the Greeks was trying to do, because I wasn't there, like you said.
right,
So
right, right.
uh, the love that I'm talking about for thy neighbor, like it was stressed in the book, no matter what color, belief, whatever the hell is going on there, just love for the fact that that's a living being just like you are. And we see it eye to eye, because hell, the same thing you want for your family, I want for mine. No matter what you Democrat, Republican, or whatever the hell else, you still want your child to go to a good school. You want, good things for your family. You want to see good things happen to the planet that we leave into these children. Because if we tear it up before they get a chance to live, then it's all for naught. So,
Correct, correct.
these are simple things that man is choosing to be fragmented over, because of the powers that be and the way that everything has been presented. And if not, for lack of a better word, the spell that has been put on this planet to have it have these things not be directly confronted, which in a lot of cases there are, but there's a very small few that's controlling the many, and that is a curse that's mentioned in the Bible. So until we as a people, through whatever vehicle it may be, have the nuts to be able to sacrifice and understand that all of us not gonna make it to the end if we take this thing on the way it's supposed to be done. Everybody not gonna make it, so it's gonna take a certain degree of sacrifice, and people have lost the conviction of sacrifice. So they kind of just go humdrum with what's being put in front of them. So it's a lot of things that need to be put into place. That soldier mindset that's in the Bible. One being a soldier that is down to lay his life down for his friends in order to get a thing achieved. This type of thinking and this directness of spirit has been easily massaged. It's been, I'll say, subtly massaged out of society because we haven't had to live like that. So, there's a lot of things that's set up and that's been put in play for that feel good now, but will ultimately work out to be to our detriment if we cannot escape the trap that's been put in front of us.
Right. So basically, the things that we've been talking about here, right? From your perspective, then, when I say ascension and things like that, you don't believe then that you're recycled back here. You don't believe in that rebirth. You don't believe that old spirits are back here again. So people that was say ancient pharaohs have been rebirthed at this time. Ancient deities have been rebirthed at this time. You don't believe anything like that is going on this planet at all.
Let me tell you something. If that's true, and so what I believe is that you got some people that haven't crossed over. You got some people that as far as entities that they're nefarious and benevolent, that and how that's qualified is far beyond me. But at the same time, I'm saying for me, right, as an individual, right, it would be the greatest of punishments for me to wake up and realize that I've assumed another form, or maybe even the same form, and I'm back from round 2 on planet Earth again.
So you've never heard of people with past life recalls where they remember a past life that they was here?
I hear of people being healed by letting leeches suck their blood. That don't mean that that's something I want to do.
No, but what I'm saying, it's not about what you do or don't want to do. It's the way it's called the way the planet works. So
because I don't want to do it individually doesn't mean that I don't know of people having the experience or
being experienced past life experience where they remember being here at a time before.
My not wanting to do it does not relinquish the knowledge that I have about it. so just as a matter of fact, it undergirds my not wanting to do it because I know that things like this are rumored to exist. So,
but you think that's on a small? So you believe it's on a small scale? Then you don't believe that's something?
I wouldn't care what scale, brother. That thing could be happening in my front yard. I would pay to have tickets, have it be seen. But that don't mean that I want to do that. That's my point. What I have read. That's why, and I'm gonna continue to go back to this initial point that I made earlier.
Oh, so you think past life experiences and recalling past is something that you choose to do or choose to think, not something that you're actually recalling?
No, that's not. I didn't say that at all. What I said was that if someone is so inclined to go through those pursuits, may they do that. Godspeed. I, as an individual, will continue to lean onto the simplicity that I was born once, and that as a warrior, I'm born once, and as a warrior, I die once.
Gotcha.
So that's simple for me. That's something that I would rather go with, past lives and coming back again, and that's the simplicity of my belief system is what I'm gonna choose every time.
Gotcha.
I don't need all of that. I don't need that. I don't want that. I want my relationship with God to be one-on-one individually, and I'm hoping that I can instill that in my family so that they can have that same thing. But as a person, individually, I got one shot at this. That's what makes this life precious. If I got a whole bunch of shots at it, well then where's the preciousness in that? What's the gift? If I got 15 pair of socks, then I'm not gonna cherish the one pair of socks that I got and keep them clean because I got 14 other ones. So just the random number of possibilities that I have, all these random lives, that kills the value of this one life that I'm living right now.
Not necessarily, but I mean, but that really is your perspective. That really is
I'm
your
not saying
perspective.
how nobody else should feel. I'm talking about this is personal.
Yeah.
I'm talking about me as a person that's putting numbers to things because math don't lie. And once I put more than one life in the mix, it devalues this one life.
So then the start of this conversation then it was about how to get. Should we go back as melanated people and be what we were before, or should we keep on the path that we are right now? The fall and the rise of spirituality, right? So it wasn't particularly about just you personally or anybody on this panel particularly personally. It's about everybody on this planet as a whole and what we should be practicing and what we should be doing.
People as a whole that understand the book, understand these tenets that I'm touting. People that of the book not riding.
But that's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand here. Is that book was not here in the beginning when we first were going through this. That book did not exist. That book has a beginning, and that book has an end.
Well, actually, in the book, doesn't it talk about the reincarnation of Jesus returning as the Messiah?
Because it's simple, and we talking about simple tenets of belief and knowledge in order to be able to have faith in that simple thing. I mean, the more fragmented and the more confusing something gets, it kills the ability to have faith in. So if I got 1,000 past lives, then you know what? My job now becomes to take my mind off God and try to figure out what I was here for all these other. My mind is on God.
Right.
I have one focus. How can I better serve you every day? How can I crucify my old man and wake up a better man under you, ready to do exactly what you have put for me? How can I prepare myself as a weapon to do your bidding? How can I better myself? A sin? How can I become more of marketable and effective in order to be able to be put in position to achieve my destiny in your eyes? So it's simple. I don't have to do all that hustling and figuring out past lives. It's this one. It's this one shot that I have to perfect. That's why that Japanese swordsman, he hit on that sword bling in one spot until it achieves the strength of the rest of the sword that he been hitting on that one spot until he got up to that point. It's that single-minded.
And that's where I believe that we've gone wrong. What do you got to say, Anthony?
Dwayne had.
No, he's talking about you.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying, if that's what you believe, which is fine, of course, then I just have a question about the book that we've been talking about. Doesn't it talk about reincarnation of sorts in the book when it says Jesus is going to return as the Messiah? Isn't that a form of reincarnation?
Well, see, that the whole part about him returning as the Messiah is to underscore the fact that he never died. He's just coming from one reality to another reality. If he were dead, then that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of everything else. He lives, and that's the whole key. He's just gonna step from one eternity to the next. There's no. He's already going through the what we would call death process, and been risen. And if everybody could do it again, that would cheapen that whole point. If anybody could do it, then why would it be written about for thousands of years?
But the planet has been here longer than 1,000 years.
Well, hey, bro.
We've been through the
Okay, so for billions is who hit it with however many zeros you want to hit it with.
right.
But that's the one story that everybody telling. That's the one story that's on everybody lips in one way or another.
But that's another untruth. That is not on everybody's lips. Everybody here does not believe in Jesus Christ. Everybody here does not believe in those stories.
If it didn't happen, it showed being spoke on. We just had a bunch of 70 clerics or something. Hell, try to do something in Jesus' name. They might not get it all right.
And it's being spoken since we were asleep. You understand that? It's being spoken since we have been asleep.
Listen, let me tell you something. Folk may not get it right and may not be hitting on that thing as simply as they should, but they still trying. And if that don't inspire some type of looky-loo into it to see what's going on, then I don't know what does. But writing off something that had a ping throughout the whole of the universe and existence on this planet as man is something that need to be seen about. I think. I don't know. Shit, I don't believe in coincidence. So if two dogs barking in the night, you might want to get your shotgun.
I have a question to ask you.
What's that?
This is just a question. You said that everybody don't believe in Jesus Christ, right?
Uh-huh.
So my question is this. If everybody don't believe in Jesus Christ, which they have a right not to, I guess I don't understand, because I've heard everybody do this. When they get into maybe a bind or they're scared, they say, "Oh, Jesus!" Why you calling on somebody who don't believe in? Jesus, we say this just for the sake of just saying it, not to be rude. Jesus fucking Christ. Why everybody doing that?
I mean, but we say things. What you've seen with her to such a small scale is so you think people over in India are saying that? You think people over in Afghanistan are saying that? You think people over in Russia are saying these things, or you think just because you've been here in America, that's who you heard say it? So you can't never say everybody with anything. That's one of my models too. You can never say everybody with anything. Everybody is not worshiping Jesus Christ. Hell, you got some places on this planet that's killing people that mention His name. Correct?
Well, our Jesus is in everybody's Bible.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
You sure it's not?
In everybody's written doctrine that was rewritten by the Catholic Church, of course it was in there. But we talking about the 12 laws of karma. It was not written in about no Jesus in there.
So
the letter J wasn't even invented either. That's what you got to understand that too.
So I don't want to get into technicality with the J and stuff.
I mean, but it's not just a technicality. It's the truth. Well, it didn't exist. We act like this figure that you guys think is the end all be all has been around since antiquity, and it has not been. So
let's say Yeshua did.
So you go back to ancient Kemet. There was no such thing as no Jesus Christ. There was many stories of things that does things. There were many stories of people who did the same thing, who died and reborn and everything like that, in all different sects of religion. There's people that did the same thing. The same thing, died and reborn, the 25th, all these things, same thing in many different religions.
That means give more credence to the need for Yeshua. If there was never a need, then he wouldn't have to be here.
But it was a forced need. It was the only religion that was forced. It was the only one. Christian Crusades.
What?
Who was killed to believe in Hinduism?
Yeshua ain't saying.
Or did you go follow it because of your heart wouldn't follow Hinduism because you read into the right thing? You weren't killed because of it.
Yeshua said nothing in the Bible about anybody forcing him on anybody.
Yes, it was. Yes, it doesn't talk about in the Bible, but we talk about real life here, fellas. Everything isn't based off the Bible. The Bible is not the end all be all.
Have you heard the term that so all black people ain't bad, all white people ain't bad? Some people take stuff and do bad, and it brings bad to everybody who practices that. So when you go about Christian Crusades and people killed them, Paul wasn't doing that. Peter wasn't doing that. The people that was with him, those would be the ones who would have,
keep going to Inquisition, things like that too.
Put his teachings after he left, right?
Bruh, so everybody that just because we it's Hebrews and there's Jews and then there's Zionists. Now they all quote unquote Hebrews, but those are two different factions of the same person.
That's what I keep bringing up too.
So you can have people that claim to be about something that ain't even living that.
Correct.
Like I know for a fact that it was a preacher dude that I knew he had more hoes than I did, and I was out there in them streets, gang banging and pistol playing. So just because somebody claimed to be something, don't make them that thing. It's about actions. You can hear what a person says.
You doggone right it's about actions. You doggone right it's about actions.
In the Bible, it talks about a tree bearing fruit, right?
Sure.
So if I'm saying I'm an apple tree and I'm bearing oranges
with a talking snake,
it's a disconnect in what I'm saying as to what I'm doing, and that should not color anybody else that say they're an apple tree that's out there actually bearing apples. So if just because I say I'm from a particular faith or I read a particular book and I go out here and hit somebody with my car, that ain't supposed to just make you look at everybody that read the book just like the nigga that just hit somebody with his car. Like that's to me that's cop out thinking. Like it leads towards this attitude that, well, since he did it, I can go do whatever the hell I want to go do. Okay, well then just do that and don't try to blame nobody else for what you're doing. Just do it. Let it go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can somebody try to make an enemy out of a man that's trying to live his life the right way? If I feel like this book is giving me the tools that I need to do what I got to do and move the right way, and I got my own personal power and the people that I know got a certain type of power that move with us and have kept us alive, and that since we have no other thing to attribute to or don't want to attribute it to anything else, we attribute it to God. Mm-hmm. Where is the disdain coming from? That's what I be tripping off of. Like, folk want to hate the Bible, folk want to hate the people that believe in the Bible, and I feel a fire, like a little heat coming from folk when you bring the Bible. I don't talk about that damn book out here. Like, bro, calm down, because ain't nobody taking that Bible and doing no real lives. If you reading the Bible and living out of the Bible, you ain't coming out of there feeling like you got to kill somebody, do something to somebody.
But most of the death that has happened because of the Bible.
Listen, them folk.
The Ku Klux Klan, they believed in the Bible too. You know what I mean? They believed in Jesus. They called on Jesus. You know what I mean? What happens when you got to do? How can he work both ways? So you tell me he works both ways then? When the slave is praying to be let go from the master, and then the master is praying from the slave not to leave. It works both ways. There was many clan members who prayed to Jesus for the slaves to come back. There's many of them.
So that don't make it right though.
I didn't say it made it right, but how can it work both ways?
It don't.
Because Bibles and books and anything that you learn is open to interpretation.
Yes.
I can learn martial arts. I can go to martial arts school and learn to be one of the best martial artists with a whole nother dude learning the same things that I was, and he can go out and murder a whole bunch of people, and I can go out and protect a whole bunch of people. It's intent, just like we keep talking about. It's intent, bro. Like, just because folk sit down and read the Bible and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go out here and this Bible telling me to do this, and this. That don't make them right.
What I would say,
a whole group of them doing it like that, and that don't mean that group represents the bulk of the group that understand what the Bible's saying.
What I would say,
you talk about outliers. You talking about like situations that happen in history that are outliers or that fall under the people that was using the book to do something that the book wasn't meant to have it done. That just because some people had that book in their hand don't mean that is what the book was telling them to do. That's what they wanted to get out the book, or they even not even seen the shit in the book. It was just like, you know what, I'm gonna use this as a tool in order to perform certain things. So it don't. It's not an indictment on the Bible that somebody read it and then closed it and did what they did. That I mean, I can sit up and listen to some music that might make me want to dance, and then somebody else hear the same song and it make them want to kill motherfuckers. But do that make it something wrong with the song? No.
Actually, Ronald, yes. You don't need me to go in on that one with the vibration of the song.
Why were they able to use that though?
You can ride whatever horse you want to ride.
Hold on, Leslie. Hold on for a minute, man.
You can ride whatever horse you want to ride. You know what I'm talking about.
So hold on, Leslie. Let me sneak in there for a minute, man. Why were they able to use that against the slaves?
Why say it again?
Why were they able to use that? Why were they able to use the Bible against the slave?
That was the first book they gave us.
No, we couldn't read.
Well, but more because they can. But what does that? What does that entail? What does that lead to? If you're able to read,
You're able to read. You're able to get free. You can't be controlled.
you're able to. It leads to knowledge.
Yes,
That doesn't speak to faith in God, right?
correct.
That's that. The people perish not because of lack of faith, perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yes.
That's what that's about when it comes to that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you because that's something that I had to work through with that. But I'm not seeing it from the European way though. So I don't call Jesus because like you. I don't agree with the J. It's Yahusha or Yahuwah. So I go back to because I believe that's what we were speaking back then. So Christianity, if you want to call it that, was around before the Europeans came with it. They took it. They saw what we was doing. They took it back, and then they devised a plan to come over and use it against us. Mm-hmm. But it was already there. It was already in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Bible, the manuscripts was there in the 1st and 2nd centuries. So you can't say it wasn't around. It was around the same time that Yeshua was around. During his life, existence, and death. But what I'm trying to get after reading the book Hebrews to Negroes, it's opened my eyes up to what's really happening. That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. That we it's just like I said. It's just my opinion. We have to go back to when you talking about going back to African, and spirituality and all that stuff. I'm not talking about the white Jesus that you see painted. I'm talking about what we was doing before that. See, when I say Christ follower, Christ didn't practice Christianity. He practiced Judaism. He was a Jew. But he came from not a legalistic, you get what I'm saying? He came with love. He didn't come with, oh, your donkey fell in the hole, so y'all gonna get it out on the Sabbath. You gonna go to hell. You get what I'm saying? He didn't come with that. Matter of fact, most of the time, I'm starting to think that the Jews he was talking to in the Bible are these ones that are over there now. Because he kept calling them vipers and snakes. He kept calling them vipers and snakes. You get what I'm saying? And he said, you are of your father, the devil. But see, Jesus was, Yeshua was black. That's how I'm seeing it. That's what we got to get back to. Like I said, all the dietary stuff, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of that. We have to get back to that. Not this Christianity that they practice here, where everything goes, and you just say a couple of Hail Marys, or you do whatever you want, and you can just
repent.
Yeah. I think we got. I'm not saying that
you go out there and kill and say you sorry. Go out there and massacre this group and say
And I'm not saying that Christ's sacrifice doesn't cover the original sin that they say we have. But it says over in Hebrews, if you continue to sin willfully, the sacrifice ain't no good for you no more. It says that in Hebrew. So you not allowed to just do what you want to do. But see, I think a lot of Christians skip over that. You get what I'm saying? So it's not a free fall. and after a while, if you just keep doing what you want to do, you may not get a deathbed.
You get what we living right now.
You know what I'm saying? So
you get what we living right now.
It's just me. I think I understand when the young people come and they say they tired of hearing about because they don't see no power.
They see absolutely nothing.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna keep it honest with you.
They see absolutely nothing.
They don't see no power. They hear give your money and watch a blessing, sow a seed. None of that stuff is biblical. See, it's just a lot of BS out here. I agree with Leslie.
They want to know why we drinking some dude's blood, Why we pretend to drink some dude's blood? Why we pretend to eat some flesh? Why we covering ourselves in somebody else's blood? What kind of ritual things are these? These don't even sound natural, Tony. Why we been practicing these things?
Well, we can get into what communion is, but the other stuff, as far as them not wanting, and I'm like Leslie too. When people talk about the Bible, there's a certain energy or hate that come with it. And I just think people don't see the power in it. They don't see the power. I mean, you got to call a spade, but that doesn't mean that the God of the Bible is not real. The people who is professing it is not.
Yes.
That is the big. You want to know what the biggest problem with that? That's the biggest. There's so many scandals. Hey, I wouldn't leave my kid with none of these pastors.
Yeah, because I didn't say the God of the Bible wasn't real. It is one of the gods, but it is not the God, the God of the Bible.
I would just say people are tired of people professing, and there ain't no power behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing. If you want, that's the big. And no other religion. Let's just call a spade. No other religion professes to have power like that, like Christianity does. It just doesn't. You get what I'm saying? So people are tired of looking at that and not, you know.
I mean, because for a matter of fact, look at India. Look at India when they had they million people gathering, right? Do we even realize that every time everything they came and prayed upon at one time came true for them? Have we did any study on that before? You know what I mean?
No, I haven't heard of it.
We got to dive into. They have that things like what, once every year or something like that, where they come all gather, 1 million of them, pray upon one thing, and it manifests. Because they have togetherness. You know what I mean? They're not practicing no religion. They're not praying upon no Jesus. They're manifesting things together. This is what I'm talking about, where we came from. This is what I'm talking about, what we're doing. This is what I'm talking about with the 12 laws of karma. That's what I'm talking about. That has nothing to do with following no man.
When you look in the Bible, you see things just like that. The Israelites would get together on holy days of convocation and pray and ask God for things, and they'd be granted those things.
So in 2025, what have we gotten? All this time we went to church since I'm 50 years old and things like that. What have we got as a group as a whole? We're not talking about individual success. We're not talking about becoming the next basketball player, the next football player, the next great singer. As a whole, we left slavery owning 1/2 of 1%, and here we are still in 2025. We own 1/2 of 1%. We ain't changed nothing. We haven't advanced nothing. And in actuality, we've gotten worse. We're killing each other at a higher rate right now.
But a lot of that too, though, Tony, is it's not just because we haven't came together though. They've done some things
to make us not come together.
They keep that from happening.
To put laws, the National Security Memorandum 46, where we don't come together, where we don't sit down and have these talks. That's what I'm talking about.
Not just that though. They have the
redlining.
You couldn't get a house right. All of that stuff has been put in place because the path to wealth was through owning a house. Am I right? Mm-hmm. So they took that away.
They took everything away from us.
And then when we did come together and have commerce and they bombed it
because we didn't practice.
Or they
didn't practice protection.
Or they put a lake there.
We practice. How does Sentinel Island survive this whole time without the white folks coming there?
Well, what we should have did was the one thing that we didn't take from them is when they established a school or a church, they brought in the military, or they established what you call protection, and we didn't have protection. We went along.
No physical protection or no spiritual protection.
We went along, but we didn't have that other arm of it.
Mm-hmm. Have we heard of North Sentinel Island? An island untouched by melanated people, right? This has been left there for all this time.
Oh, they kill everybody that come to
They
kill everybody that step foot on it.
How have they survived this whole time through slavery and things like that, and they don't have not one Bible?
Because they kill everybody that step foot on their land. I know exactly who you talking about. Mm-hmm. They don't play.
But are you telling me that we at this juncture, why haven't they been bombed then?
Huh?
Why haven't they been bombed then? We got all this weaponry, right? They could have nuked them by now. They could have came in and raided them with the armed forces, with the army, navy. They could have surrounded that island and took it over. Why haven't they done it?
I tell you why, and that ain't even spiritual. They not a threat.
They're not.
They're not a threat. You only try to take away something that's a threat.
No resources. They have no resources that they want.
Oh, they got resources. They got resources on the island
that they want. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
not that.
Because hey, they attitude. If they would have done it, if they could have used it.
Yes.
Come on now. Let's not act like they wouldn't have went there.
And my basis is of what they've done.
Right. They would have went, but they don't have nothing they want.
The thing I learned though talks about spirituality and the power of the ancestors they had to stop people from coming in to come to the island. Have we ever thought to believe that?
That their spirituality is keeping them away.
Let's keep them away.
Let them find some quartz or some oil on that island and see how fast they stick waving that. Like,
you said let them find some black gold. Let them find. I'll be honest.
But how would they find anybody when they let the outsiders in?
I'm not saying that you're wrong. They got satellites. They can look. You know they got satellites. They can look down.
That's right.
They ain't got nothing they want. That's why they ain't went to. And I hear what you're saying about spirituality, but I think they would have went. I think they would have went in there.
At this point, everybody knowing that they there and everybody knowing what their stance is, if any one of the powers of the world was to go there and destroy them people, they would be putting themselves on trial. So you gotta at least, even stupid evil motherfuckers know that you gotta at least keep up the appearance of some type of benevolence on this.
Right.
So going and wholesale destroying
and if they ain't got nothing we want, why go on
people that it's already scars on your body that haven't healed from that very thing happening to you. And if they go and prove you right by doing it to another people, then all that's doing is putting the power right back in our hand.
Yeah, because we already know that they don't did it. You know, we already know they don't kill.
I mean,
I'm not saying you're wrong about them praying them off of them, but I feel like if they saw something down there, they go in there and get it. Be damned, whatever they got going on. Right. I think they would go in there. They just ain't found nothing that's worth them going in.
Risk ain't worth the reward.
And I think Leslie's right about that. They gotta show some kind of benevolence. These people haven't done anything. The whole world would be. I don't feel like nobody would step in and do anything. You get what I'm saying?
They haven't stepped in.
But the whole world would condemn them.
No one stopped in and helped us anywhere. Whether it's in Tasmania, anywhere when they destroyed, killed all the Tasmanians.
At this point, people looking for anything. The revolution, like the people are dead, sick and tired of what's going on, and all they need is a rallying cry, a martyr, a linchpin, or something like that to kick off.
Religion is the only thing that keeps the poor man off the rich man.
This shit beyond religion is beyond anything else. It's people that's getting tired because the living environment is not conducive to enjoying life. And once you put that kind of pressure on people, then it puts certain that the earth is responding to it, the weather's responding to it, the morale of the people on this planet is responding to it. Everything is starting to respond to the strain, and this is all written. It's a sign of the times that the birth pangs of this, what this evil cabal is going to do to the planet, is going to cause a chain reaction. A set of seals are going to be broken all the way down to where it's going to have to be a beating and greeting time. So, we saying the same thing. It's just from two different angles. I will keep saying that because it's true.
You're right. I don't disagree with him.
It's true. It's nothing to have. No 5-hour discussion over. Seriously.
Yeah, because we didn't went over the time already because the doggone camera they cut off on us and everything.
No, I'm saying when it boils down to it, brother, you want the same thing I want. You just picking a different car to jump in to go get that thing, and that's all it is to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's really.
See, but the thing about it is, I don't want to say I'm willing to pick up arms. I'm willing to pick up energy to fight this
Same
battle. You know what I mean? I'm willing to pick up energy to fight this battle.
So God is energy, faith is energy.
So we
we
capable of
about,
moving water and
has
fire
energy.
and things like
Body has
that.
energy.
We got to do
All
these things.
We talking about the same thing, bro. It's energy for energy. Like this, you can't do nothing without energy.
Not a thing.
As soon as you move your muscle, that's a firing off a type of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So ritual is whatever the hell else you want to call it. So I mean, we parsing words at this point. It's semantics.
Yeah. So we've been going at it. How long is it right now?
I got 2 hours on my phone. 3 hours. Just hit 3 hours and 9 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I'm about to say 3 hours because my camera cut off probably about the other half hour from the video.
Yeah.
Cut it back off.
Oh, she cut it back on?
No, it's out of space. It ain't recording. No.
Oh, okay. it's moving numbers.
But all the sound is here. I know that didn't stop. That records for over 10 hours. Or longer. It has infinite space. So I guess we finished this conversation?
I think it's always going to be an ongoing conversation.
I feel as though it's to simplify this thing. I feel like we have more in common on this subject matter than we do have different, because without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, spiritualism is the path, essentially.
Yeah.
Faith is an energy, so being able to bear down and focus on one particular entity or one particular goal, and being able to calm one's mind, first having the sight to see that anything need to be done in the first place, because a lot of people is happy slaves. A lot of folks will take this life over any other life. You know what I'm saying? So with them to the side, with the people that have eyes to see and ears to hear and a mouth to speak, that's really on top of their game, that sees that something needs to be done, and that what we've been doing so far has not been working.
Right.
And
right.
People that want to get down to a fundamental level, and then there's some that want to, get to a, I guess what you would call a more complicated level. But there's something that needs to be done, and some power needs to be tapped into.
Yeah.
Because there's power that's being said by both sides, that there should be a tap that we can use in order to usurp some of this power and help use it.
And that's why I speak to a lot of the youth that's coming into my place about they shouldn't have fear like they've been put into their families about going to talk to a psychic or a medium. It shouldn't be fear put into them. And it's complete other fear. Just
because a person doesn't go and do something doesn't mean the person is scared of that thing.
Oh no. They've been put fear into doing that. They've been told it's the devil's work. They've been told it's been demonized. So they have fear to even go to the OC. Once I had my first one, it was
something that's gonna work for me. It's not about preference. It's not about something that's been demonized. If I don't feel like a psychic is gonna work for me, then I have no heaven or hell to put her in. I just don't feel like she's for me. Now she can psych up whoever the hell else she wants to, but I go to God for my psychic reading, as it were. Mm-hmm. So the simplicity that is afforded by what I believe in and by what I live by is what I like.
Right.
I don't have to get up and get in my car and go, or get on my phone and call no psychic to talk to her about nothing. I talk to God. He tells me what I need to know when I'm still enough to listen, and I go that direction. It's simple.
Right.
I don't have any outward modalities that I have to employ in order to get what I want. And it's the same thing you want, but I just have one source for it, whereas you may have many.
Many. That has awakened my eyes to a lot of things around here. A lot of things.
I believe. I believe
choose
this whole
simplicity.
discussion, yep, just like you just said, I believe this whole discussion is actually pretty simple. And what I believe is everything was put here by the Creator, or God, or whatever you want to call him, the Almighty Creator who created everything. It was all put here by Him, and He put things here for us to use in order to be closer to Him and to figure things out on our own as we need to. Now, of course, there's always, like we've been talking about, there's people that use it for bad, but then there's also people that use it for good. But I think
On both sides.
Yep. And I think it's pretty, like you've been saying, simplicity. I think it's pretty simple. Everything here was put here by Him, and it was put here by Him for us to be able to use. Now, obviously, we have our free will to do what we please with that
Correct.
free will that He gave us. But they were all, everything that we're talking about was put here by Him for us to be able to wield.
Yeah.
In whichever way you see fit.
Right. Am I taking my time to sit down and demonize somebody else's customs and ways ain't gonna do nothing to help me. You know what I'm saying? As far as what my pursuits are. So just because I don't employ the same pursuits don't mean that I'm demonizing it, nor
Because
do I have
no one's demonizing the Bible at all. No, you haven't said here and say that the Bible is the devil and all this other thing. I've never mentioned that, but I just say it's a better way.
I have to disagree with that. I hear the Bible be demonized daily, on multiple times a day. If I just listen, somebody out there beating that Bible to death. So I have to disagree with you on that. For whatever aspect or point of view they coming from, I can't argue with that. But I know that Bible is crucified daily, and that's what makes me want to take a look at it.
Gentlemen,
because people can't go with their full day without saying something.
But I gotta go into a building in the morning.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we gonna end this conversation right here. We gonna end it right here. And we gonna see where we move on from here in the next episode of the TheSeedz963. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do, because it's a lot more to be talked about this. It's a lot more to be said about this, and I have quite a few other guests that want to come on and participate in these things. That has more insight of what we're talking about here, but more actual things they've experienced and things that they've seen and things that they've done in their life that's changed their life completely, as of mine. You know what I mean? There was outside of this Bible. That was outside the Bible, and there was not demonizing and did nothing but help them on their journey and increase their journey. And they have proof and testaments all about what it's done for them.
What's funny is that I ain't heard nothing that we discussed that's outside the Bible.
Nope.
Nothing. Everything that we've discussed has been touched on in that word.
Right.
That's what makes it so complete.
Right. And I'm doing this because I got so many requests from people at the shop that want to hear a different way, to hear what is being said and why can't we do it. So yeah, so basically on this panel we haven't given a reason not to do what I'm saying, but they're saying that's all they get from their parents and families, the reasons not to do this and not to do that, and completely demonize it, and they feel what I'm feeling and feel what I'm saying.
Some of them practices, and some of the things that are laid out there, are some heavy things.
Yes, it is.
And some of that stuff, you have, if you don't know how to protect yourself, if you don't know what you're doing, when you get off in there, you can't get your head tore off. Nah, so I mean, it's just like me telling anybody that I see going into something with a certain naivete involved, and I pull them to the side and let me put a bug in your ear and let you know that this and this happened. That don't mean that I'm trying to keep you from doing it. It's what I want is for you to go in there understanding that certain things can happen to you. Now, if you play with that snake can bite you. If you gonna go in there and cook, understand your ass can get burnt in there.
Yes,
or
indeed.
you can burn the house down. So I'm letting you know that it ain't all cookies and cream off in there. You gonna have it's some risk involved.
Correct.
If I just send you in there without letting you know that there's risk involved, then I'm doing you a disservice.
Right.
So
All right.
that's why I like the Bible, because there is no risk involved. It's just faith between me and God. Where's the risk? I believe in God. He takes care of me. He handles my business for me, and there's no risk involved. That's the simplicity that I enjoy. That's why I like the path that I'm on.
Gotcha.
Still, all the precautions need not be taken.
Gotcha. And that's a each his own. All right. We gonna let Dwayne got to get out of here. He got to go. He got to go get his sleep tomorrow. He got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. We gonna end this right here. I'm just happy I got it all on record right now. Not all on video, all on record. and we will continue this to the lady. I'll be sending everybody out what we're gonna do next time. The Black Panther lady is texting me beyond belief. She want to get on the show, so we got a lot of different things to talk about. We got a lot of different things. Health is coming up soon too. They want me to get on that one too. They want me to get on health.
All right,
that's good. Good show, brothers.
All right, now everybody enjoy your evening. And this is
brother. God bless all y'all brothers, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes. And y'all have a great evening. And this is the end of the TheSeedz963 episode 3. Have a great night, fellas.
Good night.